Unmute the mic, speak up. The male perspective.
Live is about to play the video.
Caregiving knows no boundaries. It's time to hear from the voices that often go unheard.
Good morning. How's everyone?
Meet our global male caregiver speakers, sharing their powerful stories, experiences, and insights. Introducing our esteemed presenters, Dr. Wayne Freemanchon, Kevin Jordan, Dr. George M. Ackerman, Trevor Jeremiah Carter, Keith Demps, Basiliso, Bas Moreno, Lance Aslatin, Mark Varkavisser, Michael Waters, Scott Wells. Connect, learn, be inspired. Together, we are stronger. Together, we make a difference. And now, meet our beautiful summit hosts, Cheryl D. Mims and Christina Keys. Reserve your ticket now and be part of this impactful event.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Hey, we're here. We're live. You have just entered the second annual Global Male Caregiver Summit 2025. Thank you so much for joining us today. You could have been anywhere, but you chose to be here with us. Yes, we are on around the globe. It may be 5 in the morning, it may be 6 in the morning, it may be 11 in the morning, it may be 9 at night. Guess what? We are here and we're live. Thank you so much. I have my wonderful, beautiful co-host, Christina Keys, with me today. And we want to just thank her for coming in and accepting and saying yes to being my co-host. So today, listen, you are in for a wonderful surprise today. We're so glad you tuned in with us. We have a plethora of powerful global male caregivers that's coming to the stage to share their story, their insight, their area of expertise, and you get a chance to connect with them even after the show is over. So today, we're going to get started. Christina Keys, I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Cheryl D. Mims. I am the host of the second annual Global Male Caregiver Summit 2025. I am the founder and CEO of Global Caregivers Network and Global Caregiver Speakers. What is this all about? Listen, the speaker program is all about those who are caregivers that come to the stage to share their stories. We have a plethora of speakers, and also out in the world, there are so many caregivers. According to stats, there's 53 million, but it's even way more than that now since the COVID had come in. So today is the day that you are here, and we're going to make you have a good time here today because these caregivers, male caregivers especially, have come to the stage to share their story. Why male caregivers? Because male caregivers have a voice. They are the unsung heroes. They are the ones that are doing things just like the women are, but their voice have been muted. But guess what? We're going to unmute the mic today. We're going to unmute the mic today. So with that being said, and without further ado, we're going to have Christina Keys to introduce herself and bring to the stage our first powerful speaker. Thank you, Christina.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Well, my name is Christina Keys. I am the founder and CEO of Keys for Caregiving and the Director of Business Development for Go Insta Care, a national speaker, an advocate, and community builder, as well as a care space consultant. And I'm excited to be the co-host for the second annual Global Male Caregiving Summit with the beautiful Miss Cheryl D. Mims. And I'm excited to bring up our first speaker, Dr. George M. Ackerman. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our honor to introduce Dr. George M. Ackerman, a passionate advocate for Parkinson's disease and dementia awareness. With a background in law enforcement, and education, he holds a PhD in criminal justice and an MBA. Dr. Ackerman's advocacy began through a personal journey caring for his mother, Sharon, who battled Parkinson's and dementia for over 15 years. In her memory, he founded Together for Sharon, a movement dedicated to raising awareness and hope for a cure. He is the author of A Son's Journey, chronicling his path from caregiving to advocate. Please join me in welcoming the amazing Dr. George M. Ackerman.
Cheryl and Christina and the Global Caregivers Network for the time today. It's been an honor last year to be back here. To be with you all live means the world. Please support the Male Caregiver Summit. Feel free to share this. But a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Dr. George Ackerman. Unfortunately, my mother passed due to Parkinson's disease. A lot of individuals may not be aware, but Parkinson's disease is one of the fastest growing neurological disorders in the world. About 1.2 million people in the US, but 10 million globally are diagnosed right now. Sadly, in the news broadcast just last week, they believe that there'll be about 25 million people in just 10 more years, which is kind of shocking, saddening. But I believe being here today and sharing advocacy with all of you, and if you could all go back and share this with your friends and your family, we can really change the world for the better. Being a male caregiver, it's odd. I didn't even think about that because when my mother was battling Parkinson's, I knew I was her son, I was her support, and I had to be there for her. It was only one night when a nurse had mentioned, she was shocked that I was helping my mother as much as I did. And I was thinking, why would you say that? And she said a lot of the males do care, but they don't really speak up. And then I met Cheryl last year, and I was just honored to be a part of this because I feel it's such an important need in society, not just here for our show, our summit today, but it has to be an ongoing conversation. So reach out to all my fellow colleagues speaking today because they're really making a difference. And you listening at home or wherever you're listening in really do also change the world for the better. Male caregiving was not easy for me. A little bit of my background, Christina mentioned it. I'm a police officer, reserve today. I'm also an attorney, and I have a PhD in criminal justice. When I dedicated my life to helping individuals who are victims of crime, but when my mother's decline started happening pretty rapidly, all that kind of went out the window. I felt like I was back, they say when you're in law school or become a lawyer, you're kind of just thrown into court. Doesn't matter what training you have, you're not prepared. Same thing as a police officer. You go through all your training, but you get thrown into the field and it's nothing like really what you've trained. It's just a different experience. Well, that's how I felt as a caregiver. I had no clue what I was doing. I wasn't prepared. There was no class I could take. So I tried to just use my intuition and my dedication to help her. She went through a lot of difficulty. The last 4 years, I'm not sure what happened. Even the medical doctors don't understand why it progressed so quickly. Just a quick note, Parkinson's disease is a neurological disorder. So you'll see signs, famous actor Michael J. Fox, who I had the honor to meet a few times now, shows signs of external tremors, so uncontrollable movement. Also rigidity, so stiffness in the body. It also affects the gut, the stomach, just affects almost everything. Some individuals, like my mother, had dyskinesia and dystonia, which is the toes start to curl and you can't control it. She also didn't sleep. So it just continued to be a tough battle for my mother. But at the same time as her battle went on, I, as a male caregiver, also had a tough battle. I had to figure out how to juggle my own family with 3 children. One was actually just 1 year old at the time. My incredible wife, who was also a female caregiver, helping me tremendously. I don't think without that support, I would have even made it today. I try to do a lot, really, today in her memory, my mother. We started together for Sharon.com, which I'll try to get to in a moment. But my own health as a male caregiver suffered. I really lived in the gym before caregiving for my mother, and I couldn't do that. I wanted to be there for her 24/7 because she only felt safe when I was around. And she also, unfortunately, at the end, the last year, had delusions and hallucinations. I think they were due to some of the medications for Parkinson's. So I always say I felt like a little, nail and a hammer just kept hitting me, and that's just, you just have to keep fighting that. Try your best. Some recommendations, obviously, they say take care of yourself first because you're not going to help your loved one unless you're healthy. I didn't do that, so I'm going to be honest. I just knew they say Parkinson's doesn't take your loved one. It just, they die with it. But my mother had no other medical issues. So we believe it was due to Parkinson's or complications. So I didn't know because the 15 doctors said she wasn't going to die young, but she did. She was only 69. To me, that's way too young in 2025, or back then, 2020. So there's a lot of things to need to do. I today, as an advocate for all those in my mother's memory, but battling Parkinson today because we still need a cure. The only way to find a cure, in my view, is to have things like this beautiful summit today, and through all of your voices to share this again, to support the summit, to support all the incredible speakers. It's very, very important, because if we gain more awareness throughout the world, then I feel we'll come closer to a cure for all diseases, not just Parkinson's. So my mother sacrificed a lot in her life, and I realized that it was time for me to do the same. And sometimes we don't like to say we have to sacrifice, but it is a sacrifice. You have to give up, your own health sometimes a little bit. Don't do all of it like I did, but you want to give up some things to be there for them, to support them. If you had an odd argument, just forget it. You have to cherish the time you have with them now. I don't have regrets. I just, wish we had a cure. The problem, a big one with Parkinson's disease, is every individual is not the same. Everyone has a different journey, so it's very complex. We don't know the true cause. I feel it's environment. Mother had mold in her home and pesticides due to termites over her life in 20 years in South Florida home. I think that might have been a big benefactor, unfortunately, due to Parkinson. But as of today, there's still no cure. There are ways to combat it, such as exercise. That's the number one. But again, more with male caregiving, it does a lot of things very bad and harmful to us, the caregiver. I mean, I went through emotional stress, depression, seeing your loved one and my best friend, my mother, go from a strong, independent woman who used to walk, a few miles a week, to the final 4 years, something I can't even explain. So I wrote a book on it, which I'll show at the end, called The Son's Journey. The last year of my mother's life, I kept a journal because it was too difficult to really talk about. Even today, sometimes I tear up while I'm speaking publicly because I still miss my mother 24/7. And just a tough thing. She went from, again, walking a few miles a week to 2 years of a wheelchair. I think it was a walker, 2 years, then a cane, then a wheelchair, then a walker, and then bedbound, which is something, again, many of you unfortunately might experience, but as a male caregiver, it's a unique perspective that isn't really voiced enough. And that's why I was proud and honored when Cheryl asked me to speak a second year in a row here. And, I'm still learning every day from all of you out there. And believe me, you're not alone. Just reach out to me or to Cheryl, to any of your incredible speakers, and as well as Christina. PD, Parkinson's disease, is a terrible disease. It takes life. It takes a lot. It just never takes our memories. So through togetherforsharon.com, if you feel free to check it out, it's become a movement. I thought we'd have about 10 people remember my mother, and I would have been fine with that, but we've had over 40,000 people visit the website. Had some incredible individuals. Jennifer Gardner, the famous actress, Muhammad Ali's daughter, Rashida Ali, Vanessa Williams, all provided messages, which are all free on the website. I don't really ask for anything. I just want individuals out there like yourselves knowing that there are male caregivers out there. They're here to support you too, and that you're never alone. I felt alone. My mother, for 15 years, I was shocked even thinking back. She never met somebody who had Parkinson's disease, so she felt very alone, fear, and scared. And that's something that I think can be combated through more summits like this. I've actually published a few books too. I'm not sure if you could see, but this was Son's Journey. This is the journey of my mother and I. It goes through all my it's actually a section on male caregiving. And I actually only thought of that because of Cheryl. So I have to keep thanking her, because if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't even thought of male caregiving being really a little bit of an epidemic in the world. And we have to change that. And this is how we start that. We have summits. Also, very important to keep continuing research. So for Parkinson's disease, it's very, very apparent. It's more and more people are being diagnosed. I've turned a lot of my background as a PhD, police officer and lawyer, published this book recently called Policing in Parkinson's Disease. And in this book, I'm trying to change the world of law enforcement. Right now, a lot of law enforcement in the academies throughout the United States are not aware of what Parkinson's disease is. Well, if I have more time, I get more in depth, but sometimes it's a disease where the individual, depending on the timing of their medicines, it's a movement disorder. So if an officer pulls someone over for just a traffic ticket, that officer might not be aware that the individual diagnosed with Parkinson's can't react, might not be able to understand at that moment, or the officer might unfortunately not be aware of Parkinson's and think that driver who has been diagnosed is drugged or drunk driving. And that's a big, big problem in society. So it's the first study. I always say, please, I challenge you to find another, but first study out there in the world, literally, on law enforcement and Parkinson's disease. I continue to publish. We don't accept money. We donate it all to organizations like the Michael J. Fox Foundation. So feel free to look at their website. If you go to togetherforsharon.com, click donations. They were beautiful enough to create a page in my mother's memory, but it goes directly to them. So in conclusion, I just have one last thing. I want you all to know that you're never alone in this fight. So whether it's Parkinson's or other illnesses, caring men, I can really honor to have the opportunity to speak to you, but please stand up. Please keep speaking. I have a podcast too called Q&A with Sharon's son, George. It's throughout the world. We interview really the Parkinson's community, but this is worldwide too. Again, 10 million people around the world are suffering with Parkinson's, and it also affects their families, as it did with me and my family as a male caregiver. But I always end my show, and I'm going to end today, unfortunately. I always say it shouldn't say the end, just to be continued. But we love you, we support you, we care about you, and you're never alone. I, along with Cheryl, Christina, and all these incredible speakers, which I hope you enjoy today coming up, will advocate for you. And together, I feel our voices are so much stronger. And although I lost my mother 5 years ago, it feels like, reoccurs every day. I miss her. But I just want you to know I'm just getting started. And no matter how long this journey takes until there's a cure for Parkinson's disease, you could be sure I'll be standing right by your side until the cure is at everybody's doorsteps around the world. I go by Sharon's son, George. You can reach me at togetherforsharon.com. And what an honor it has been the second year. I want to again thank everyone, my colleagues here speaking. I want to thank the audience, and please support everybody. It's not just about one of us. We're all in this together. Thanks, everyone. Love you, and we'll see you soon.
That was incredible.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Cheryl, I think you're on mute. There.
That was beautiful. Go ahead, Christina. That'll stay just like that. Keep Dr. George on stage for a minute. So,
All right.
Christina, go ahead. What's your feedback? I
Oh
love
my gosh.
it.
Well, Dr. Ackerman, I have actually heard you speak quite a few times, and I've heard some of your podcasts, and man, I learned some new stuff today, and it was so great to hear you talk about, some of the emotions, when you share, you still sometimes get teared up, because that's a real thing that happens for family caregivers. Grief doesn't end, within 2 weeks. Sometimes it's just something we journey with for the rest of our life. And I just think it's so amazing in your book, talking about your journey with your mother. I don't know if anybody has not read it, you need to read it, because it is powerful and moving. Mm-hmm. So I learned some new stuff about you today. So thank you so much for sharing.
I appreciate it. The thing that's great about this conference is you actually, have a moment to talk about male caregiving. A lot of time, as you see, I don't even talk about myself. I talk more about Parkinson's. You have to educate, and I talk about my mother. And guess what? The time's up. So I never really get to talk about the male caregiving aspect. So again, just want to thank you all for the honor and the pleasure of the time.
Absolutely. No, thank you, Dr. George. I am so excited because, like she just said, you learned something new. And thank you so much for sharing, Christina. The thing with the male caregiver, we have to acknowledge them. Why? Because, listen, if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. Remember, it's your seed, right? So I'm just putting that out there because it's the males, right? And you guys have a voice. You have a voice. So this is the platform, this is a movement. We're going to keep this going. Dr. Ackerman, you are one of the best ones that I have seen that represent Parkinson's disease awareness. I mean, you are out there in the community. You go state to state, wherever you can be present at. You can't be everywhere, but you do represent Parkinson's disease very well for your mother. Sorry for your loss. Like you say, it's been over 5 years. Although it's been that long, it's still a void in your heart,
Yeah,
right?
I'm,
You're your
I'm
mother's
glad I
son.
didn't.
You love your mother.
I'm just
I'm
glad I
sorry,
didn't
go
fall.
ahead.
I'm glad I was strong today because sometimes it's not easy to get through even these. But I do want to say couldn't have done it without the female caregivers too. So
Yeah.
thank you both.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cheryl, did you know that of the 53 million family caregivers, that estimated number, that was pre-COVID, by the way, did you know that 33% of those are actually male? So, I
They
mean,
are.
a lot of people think that it's females that are taking care. 33% of 53 million are men who have stepped up and said, I am there to care. So I am so grateful. And I feel so blessed that I get to be here today and see and hear these amazing speakers live, like Dr. George Ackerman.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. George. Thank you so much for sharing that. Listen, if you in the comments put a comment in there, what did you receive from Dr. George Ackerman today? Just put one thing in the comment. And then also, I want you guys to chime in and share with us where you are coming in from. What state, what country, right? I'm coming in from Indiana. Christina is coming in from Washington, Vancouver, Washington. We got a lot of people here from the United States. We got Dr. Chong that's coming in from Singapore. We got Trevor Carter coming in from the United Kingdom. So we have a plethora of wonderful male caregivers from around the world. So, Dr. George, we thank you for kicking this off. Thank you so much for your time, for your patience, and stick around because we have more wonderful caregivers coming to share their story. Thank you, Dr. Ackerman. And so, with that being said, keep it going, Christina.
Let's do it.
I am wonderfully impressed already. Dr. George kicked us off, and it doesn't stop there, okay? We have even more caregivers coming, male caregivers. Why I say male caregivers, I have a heart for male caregivers because they are, if you will, they undergird the female caregivers. We know uh, genetically that women are what? Nurturer, they're kind, they're caring, all this wonderful good stuff, right? But what about the males? The males are wonderful too. They are kind, they're caring, they're nurturing, right? And a lot of the caregivers today that's on the platform have cared for a family member, be it their mother, their father, their siblings, grandparents, right? So we want you to stick and stay and hear these powerful stories that these male caregivers have to present to us today. So without further ado, we have next coming to the stage is Basiliso Moreno. He's a seasoned business strategist and a consultant with a passion for helping organizations thrive. He has guided countless companies toward growth and success with years of experience in business development and strategic planning. He is known for his keen insights and ability to drive impact change. Basiliso is coming to the stage to share with you Caregiving with Grief. Please join us in welcoming Basiliso, also known as Bass Marino. Take the stage.
Thank you so much, Sherelle, for this wonderful opportunity. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are joining us all throughout the world. Thank you for taking your time to hear the male perspective of caregiving. So, how many of you, uh, you can put it in the chat, how many of you have lost a loved one due to the COVID-19 pandemic? Take a couple of seconds and put it in the chat. I'm raising my hand. So I want to take you back.
There you go.
I want to take you back to 2018, 2019. At the time, I was living in my hometown of the Bronx, New York, caregiving for both my parents, my mom, my dad, while raising both of my children. My mom had a history of falls due to vertigo. Around 2018, she had a bad fall, which caused her to have like 7 staples in her head. And during that time, I told my mom in the hospital that your next fall, that's going to be it. Like you not going to be, your body's not going to be able to handle another fall. So let's take you back to 2019. It was June 2019, and knowing my mom had a history of falls, I was going to be out of town for the entire weekend, and I let her know, you need to be careful. I'm not going to be home this weekend. I'm going to my friend's wedding. I'm not going to be, so please be careful. I'm not going to be home. Sure enough, it was a Friday night. I had this conversation. Sure enough, the next day, not even a full 24 hours later, I get a text message through her medical alert button saying that she was rushed to the hospital. And come to find out, she had fallen at home and broke her ankle in 2 places. Now she's in the hospital and now needs short-term rehab. Unfortunately, the rehab wasn't going well at all. Um, and then she ended up having uh, a bone spur, skin breakdown on the same ankle that she broke her ankle with, and it was not healing due to her issues with diabetes. So she spends all her birthdays, she spends my birthday, she spends all the holidays in the nursing home, and she's not getting any better. The rehab people at the nursing home said she is. They deemed her bedbound. So now the state we talk about stages of grief usually when somebody passes away, but we don't talk about stages of grief when when a life change happens. Now my mom was always going to the supermarket, always going to medical appointments, just doing her basic needs, able to do it on her own. Now they deem her uh, bedbound, and now I'm pretty much home having to juggle everything while at the same time work as a social worker, and I also work with older adults as well. So I do discharge planning, or I did at the time do discharge planning from nursing homes back home, or people going to the hospital and doing discharge planning back to go back home. So now my work life as a social worker and my home life, personal life, are starting to intertwine a little bit, and I always had to usually been able to keep both of my professional life and work life separate. So now we this is December 2019. We starting hearing like the first rumblings of something's happening in China, and obviously we found out is COVID-19. Here comes 2020. We start doing discharge planning for my mom to come home, and she came home literally 2 weeks before the shutdown happened in New York. So I'm literally the whole circle of life starts happening. I'm literally like having to bathe her, change diapers, put clothes on her, everything I used to do for my kids when they were toddlers and babies, having to do the same thing for my own mom, and frustration starts, kicking in. Mainly, like for me, like because I had recently been diagnosed with 2 herniated discs in my back. I had recently had hurt my finger playing basketball, and I was using the same hand I hurt my finger to change diapers. It was a very painful, very hard situation to deal with. One day in April, literally like 5 years ago this month, I was able to work from home, and my mom starts uh, coughing all of a sudden, was taking her medication and started coughing, and immediately she turns red very, very fast. I'm like, what's going on? Why are you choking on some Gatorade? And like, literally, she turned red and like tried now having to call 911. COVID is here. In this is April 2020, so COVID literally just started taking over New York City. New York City becomes the epicenter of the COVID pandemic, and I'm literally having to call 911. And literally, I'm in the hallway of my apartment. After calling 911, the EMS comes in, and I'm thinking I'm saying my last goodbyes to my mom in the hallway. All at the same time, making sure my dad is okay, making sure he's autoimmune deficient, and making sure he's not getting sick, making sure somehow I'm not getting sick. Luckily for me at that time, my girlfriend was able to take care of my kids and take her to her apartment, and she was able to work from home. So that aspect I didn't have to deal with face to face in person necessarily. So literally a week later goes by, and my mom somehow miraculously got discharged from the hospital. However, she had flat affects, literally was physically, facially unrecognizable. Like she wasn't there physically, emotionally, like mentally, she just wasn't there. Like I knew something was off immediately as soon as she came off the hospital. Um, couldn't really communicate other than a couple of words. Just not mentally, just wasn't there. It was hard to really like explain what was happening, but I knew something was off. All she could say was that she needed some water. Was able to get some water. She ended up having COVID, and was still being discharged back to my house a week later. It was like, I'm like, we can't have mom in the hospital. I got to deal with dad. He might thinking he might catch it. Thinking that I might catch it. We had a mask on in our own house and wearing gloves and all this stuff we were doing in the streets to protect ourselves. We were doing it in our own house. Literally, I called 911 the next day. Like, she needs to go back to the hospital. The doctors um, didn't know what was going on. I had explained to the doctors. I literally had a coherent conversation with her days before, the weekend before discharge. Yes, she was a little bit confused, but she knew where she was at. She knew who I was. She was able to speak and was asking me to come visit her in the hospital. And I explained all that to the doctors, and the doctors were completely shocked. They were like, they thought her baseline, how she presented herself at the hospital, like that was her baseline. Like, no, I literally had a full conversation with her. She was alert, coherent times three, literally days ago. Now she can't even say like two words, uh, put a whole sentence of two or three words together. So I had no idea what was going on. The doctors had no idea what was going on. And I explained to the doctors she needs to go to long-term care. I can no longer care for her in my home. Now, I want to stop right there because many of us in our Black and Brown communities, we don't have these tough conversations like that. So for me to make that decision to not only care, not I wasn't even thinking about me. I was thinking about my dad. I was thinking about whenever my kids come back home and having these conversations, these sandwich generation that I'm in because I'm caring for my kids, plus I'm caring for my older adult parents. Now I'm stuck in the middle and making these tough decisions that we don't have these conversations in our community. And part of my business of Bash Moreno Consulting is to normalize having these tough conversations of making these tough decisions and normalizing having these conversations and having to make these tough decisions and kind of go from there. So literally making the decision like she needs long-term care placement. I can't care for her like physically, mentally. I wasn't able to do it. Plus, I was still working during the pandemic, working with my older adult clients, and literally my older adult clients are passing away from COVID as well while I'm dealing with personal stuff with my mom. So literally now both my worlds are completely intertwined together and dealing with all that's happening real time all at the same time. So my mom gets discharged, goes to a nursing home, and then passes away May 3rd, 2020. So I'm almost at the 5-year anniversary of her passing, and it doesn't get any easier now because I was doing so much of still working, and I was actually planning on move out of New York to move to Delaware. My focus became even more of planning to move out of New York and getting my finances in order to make that move happening. So I didn't allow myself to grieve necessarily. So we talk about stages of grief. When initially I got that phone call on May 3rd at 5 o'clock in the morning, and I immediately was bawling, crying, like I couldn't believe what I was hearing. Um, and then literally was they had called me from the nursing home. It was like, hey, we need to ID your mom. Uh, and the only way, because of COVID, I couldn't go to the nursing home to go visit. To They were like, the only way could do it was email, either send you a text message or email a picture of your mom to ID. Now that email, that email that I got was probably the worst email I ever got in my life. And having to ID your own mom through email is, I hope, something nobody has ever have to experience in their life. And literally, when I saw my mom's picture, I almost started to faint. I was literally every ounce of energy I had in my body was starting to go. I told my son, I was like, go get me some water right now. My son ran to get me, God bless him. He ran to get me some water and drank some water, and I was able to compose myself. But you talk about the stages of grief. I was having some denial a little bit later on in the day. I was like, I gotta go home and tell dad, his love of his life for 40 years, is no longer with us physically. Having to call my aunts, both in New York and in Puerto Rico, that my mom passed away, and a couple of friends that my mom had passed away. Uh, it was very tran- transactional, you would say, like literally, like this life was happening all so fast and caring for me, making sure the kids were okay, just making sure my dad was okay, and not having to really deal with the issue at hand that my mom had passed away. like I literally moved out of New York later on in the fall of 2020, and focusing on purchasing my first home, which I did in February of 2021. Um, Really, the anger and the acceptance. I'm now dealing with that for the past year and a half. I finally addressing the loss of a mom with therapy, and that's another thing that doesn't get talked about male men going to therapy. I suggest every male please go to therapy. It was definitely helpful, especially Latino men. Please go to therapy. Um, it's definitely been healing, allowing myself to grieve, allowing myself to to just accept the loss. So yeah, it's to a point that I wrote a book. I don't have a copy of the book, but it's called Triumph Through Pain: How to Maximize Your Full Potential in Hard Times. I wrote a poetry book talking about my grief, my loss, and financial education. So, um, and now I'm helping fellow sandwich people who are in the sandwich generation. like myself, to have these conversations. So I'm currently offering a free 45-minute consultation. I'm gonna put the link uh, in the comments. So if you're in that sandwich generation, uh, caring for older adults, whoever it is, parent, grandparent, aunt, uncle, and having kids are your own, let's have these conversations. Let's normalize the talk about estate planning. Let's talk about anything related to finances, how you're struggling with your own personal finance, because it's hard. These having these hard conversations, but they need to be had because the last thing you want is to go to probate court and now you're wasting money paying for lawyers that could be money that could be invested within your own family and start building generational wealth within uh, your own family tree. So um, I'm definitely going to put it in the comments. Definitely reach out. Go to my website, bassmorenoconsulting.com. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at Bass Moreno Consulting. And yes, let's connect, build. Let's have these tough conversations that need to be had. And shout out to the previous presenter, George, talk about his journey. My father-in-law literally passed away from Parkinson's last week. So it's the struggle. The struggle is definitely real. So thank you, everybody.
Wow. Wow.
Thank you. Wow.
That was so
Yeah.
moving.
Wow. Hmm. Okay, take a pause. It's real. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vasilisa. I know it's hard because every time you have to repeat it over and over, it gets harder. And then also, you just lost, like you say, your father-in-law to dementia.
To
Our
Parkinson's.
condolences to you and your family. And yes,
Mhm.
it is hard to lose a loved one. However, we have to go through the stages of grieving, right? Uh, tough conversations, but they are real. Well, we
Yeah.
thank you so much, Basiliso, for coming and sharing your story with us.
Thank you.
Continue to be strong, continue to be resilient. Um, it's a lot of people out there that are going through the same thing. I just want to share with the audience that you are not alone. Reach out in the community, reach out to your family. It should be someone that you can lean on when you're going through these tough situations. No one is bulletproof. No one, when these things happen, sometimes they be sudden. You don't know it just happened. A family member has passed away. What do you do? Right? How do you deal with this? So always know, keep someone close to you that you can reach out and touch when you go through these situations, these challenging situations and struggles. That's our condolences to you and your family. Thank you so much for coming up
Thank
to the
you.
stage today. Thank you for saying yes. We love you to come share again at the next appointed time. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank
Christina?
you.
Yeah, I just, again, I'm sorry for your loss. That's a tough one. Just last week. Your story was so moving because, especially during COVID, when we get thrown into caregiving, it's a learning curve on itself. It's like somebody says, "Hey, you need to fly the plane." While you're building the plane without a toolkit, while you don't know how to fly. It's kind of like that. But COVID, there was no, playbook for that as a caregiver. We didn't know how to even make it through COVID. And, I remember those days caring for my mother, and normally I would stay with mom in the hospital. And then, when the ambulance came to pick her up, you don't know if that's the last time, And so,
Exactly.
just what you shared, it was hard for me. Like I kept like, wiping my eyes because I was tearing up because I felt it.
Mhm.
I felt it, and I appreciate so much you being real about what that was. A lot of times people will come on and they'll sugarcoat things. Well, caregiving is real. Caregiving is tough, and caregiving feels you feel on a different level when you're caregiving. And I tell people all the time, like, hey, you can read a book, you know everything logistically, and I can talk about, help my neighbor logistically, but when it's somebody I love, I have to factor in the emotions. We're watching, our loved one, slowly decline or pass. And I used to say,
Mhm.
I'm like a 50-year-old woman, but an 8-year-old little girl inside is saying, like, please don't let my mommy die. And we're trying to function doing that. So I just really appreciate your story, and that you're helping others now, because it's not easy. So yeah, definitely, I'm hoping that you'll drop your information in the chat so people can find you, so we aren't feeling alone when we're out here and we're facing those things that we don't have a playbook for. And in caregiving, we know the second we have it figured out, something
Mhm.
happens. So thank you so much.
Right, right. Thank you, Bass.
Thank you.
Wow. Wow, wow. You're welcome. Okay, there you have it.
Mhm.
Basiliso, caregiving while grieving. Wow.
Mm.
I know we
Yeah,
all can relate to that for real,
yeah,
because life be life out here right now. A lot of things
right.
are going on. We know that death is inevitable. Unfortunately, we all gonna meet that maker one day. But for those that have taken care of their loved ones with dementia, with Parkinson, with any kind of memory care deficit or impairment, our heart goes out to you, and we're going to continue to keep you in prayer and continue to be resilient, continue to stand on what you need to, continue to take care of yourself, right? Make yourself the priority one, right? A lot of us are doing things and we're not taking care of ourselves. But stick and stay, because I have some tips for you on how to survive and thrive during this caregiving journey. It is so real what is going on. And sometimes, unfortunately, the caregiver pass away before the person that they're taking care of.
Yeah,
So make
those
yourself
stats are
priority
incredible.
one.
Yeah.
And with that being said, we're going to go to the next powerful speaker. Because I can go on and on, but we got to keep this going. I am so excited for all of the powerful speakers that have come and said yes to presenting their story today and the insight and their experiences on what they have done as a caregiver. So, without further ado, we have the powerful, the wonderful Dr. Wayne Freeman Chong coming to the stage.
Hi, Cheryl. Hi,
Dr. Chong,
everybody.
Dr. Chung has been with us. His journey into caregiving started at just the age of 21 when he became a caregiver for his frail grandmother to support his mother who was battling with depression. Years later, he cared for his mother through her cancer battle and then for his father after a stroke. So he's cared for three people, three loved ones in his family. This deeply personal experience fueled his passion for aging and dementia research. To date, he has authored over 30 peer reviewed scientific publications, with his latest work in 2024 outlining personalized lifestyle interventions for dementia. As the executive director of Giro Psych Consultants Private Limited, he plays a crucial role in advancing mental health care for older adults. Based in Singapore, he is a dedicated husband, a father of two. His story is one of resilience, dedication, and commitment to redefining the way we approach dementia prevention. Please welcome to our stage Dr. Wayne Freeman Chong, and his story is entitled Defy Dementia, Define Your Destiny, a Journey from Family Care to Public Health. Thank you, Dr. Chong. Take it away.
Thank you. Thank you. To everyone in the audience, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Good evening from Singapore. Now, first question. How many of us here would like to live beyond the age of 80? Could you just type in the chat, yes? If you'd like to
Yes.
live beyond the age of 80, type yes in the chat. Whether you're on LinkedIn or Facebook or YouTube, just type yes if you like to live beyond the age of 80. Give us a few seconds to do that. Christina says yes, please. Thank you. Marriage and health, yes, thank you. Right. Thank you. Trevor says yes. And I think the yeses will come in. In the speeches that I have given, almost the whole room would say yes. Now, I'd like us to imagine right now you are 85. Just put yourself in the state of mind when you're 85. Okay? That you're 85 right now. Okay. Now, I'd like you to look just into the screen, whichever screen you're looking at, whether you're on LinkedIn or your Facebook or YouTube, or if you have somebody around you in the house or in the room or wherever you are, look at two other people. Okay, just now you're 85 and look at two other people. Right. Thank you, Suzanne, for saying yes. Thank you, Joe, for saying yes. Thank you, Jasmine, for saying yes. Thank you, Laura, for saying yes. Now, look at two people. Now, one of you is going to have Alzheimer's disease at 85. And if you think, okay, no, that cannot be me because I'm not so unlucky to live so old and still be stricken, then, well, the statistic is you're a caregiver. That's how scary this disease is, this Alzheimer's disease, this dementia that come with it. For decades, despite decades of research, neuroscience research, we are not close to a cure, a treatment. So it seems like if we are lucky enough, we are fortunate enough, blessed enough to live long enough, Alzheimer's and dementia appears to be our destiny. What if today I tell you this, that today you could do something to reduce the odds, reduce the likelihood of getting Alzheimer's disease or becoming a caregiver for someone who does? Would that be of value to you? I'd like to bring us to a time when I was 21. I found myself kneeling on the cold tiles of my grandma's bathroom, my grandmother, my mom's mom, struggling to change her adult diaper. It was really an embarrassing moment for me. It was the first time I did this, and I remember my hands were shaking. She looked at me like, not out of frustration or anger, but perhaps wondering if I would get it over, and perhaps she was wondering why the pause. And I just wondered if she realized I was so embarrassed. You see, I wasn't a nurse, a doctor. That was my first time doing any caregiving. I wasn't trained to do this. In fact, I didn't want to do this, but I did this because my mom, who was depressed at that time, was caring for her mom. And I thought my contribution could reduce her feelings of sadness. So I was just a grandson trying to make life easier for my mom and my grandmother, who took care of me when I grew up. And that was how I was thrown into this world of caregiving. There was this incident with my grandmother I will never forget. I came home late one night, about 8 o'clock, and she was in the kitchen, and we had this talk, this conversation. And somehow I didn't agree with how I should care for her, and she wanted me to do something. I can't really recall the content of that conversation, but she was like saying, Wayne, could you just get this done like tomorrow? And I was saying, no, Grandma, how about during the weekend? I can help you during the weekend. And I just blew my top. And in my frustration, guess what I did? In my frustration, I actually pushed her. And I regretted my decision straight away. You see, she was frail, 86 years old at that time. She had rheumatoid arthritis, diabetes, heart problems, and my push just landed her on her elbow on the floor in the kitchen. Thankfully, she wasn't seriously hurt, but what broke my heart. Her very precious jade bracelet on her right wrist, if I could recall correctly. That jade bracelet. Now, I don't know if you understand this. A jade bracelet is a family heirloom of ours, and to the Chinese in Singapore and many other places, to Chinese people, and certainly to that generation who were born in the beginning of the 20th century, like my grandmother, is something very, very precious. That precious heirloom was broken into 3 distinct pieces. If I was allowed, I would have shown you a picture of that. 1 jade piece to 3 pieces. I regretted my decision. I apologized and I just broke down. I didn't realize caregiving could be this bad, this stressful. When I came to my senses, I had some reflection and I realized mom probably would have gone through worse. And that was just my grandmother. So, long story short, my grandmother became even more frail and she was admitted into a residential facility. Eventually, she passed on in that facility from sepsis, basically a shock to the body. And that was my first caregiving journey at the age of 21. Years later, my mother, she was diagnosed with ovarian cancer, cancer of the ovaries. Right. By then, I had some caregiving experience caring for my grandmother. I know how to change an adult diaper. I knew how to manipulate the wheelchair. I was able to control or at least manage some of my emotions. But what I couldn't control was this: being a sandwich caregiver, being torn apart by the needs of my wife, who was expecting our first child, then our son, and my mother. You see, at this time, on a fateful day, both of them had a medical appointment, same city, same hospital, just different department, 2 different buildings. My wife had a prenatal check, that kind of check that would determine the sex of our child, and that kind of checkup that any first-time parent, father or mother, would look forward to, because that gives me and my wife then some inspiration, some imagination about what life would be then. I was really looking forward to that, and my wife needed me to be there. But at the same time, on the same day, at around the same hour, my mom, who did not respond to the cancer treatment by the oncologist, had to see the oncologist and other members of her treatment team to discuss changes to her treatment. And wow, I mean, I think earlier Dr. George talked about being a sandwich caregiver, and Bess talked about being a caregiver, a male caregiver. And I definitely raised my hand as a sandwich caregiver, at least during those days. And that was even before COVID. I was torn. What could I do? Should I be with my mom or with my wife? Yeah. And that was before COVID. That was before the days in Singapore where we had electronic digital devices that could help us, manipulate, get a quick glimpse of medical appointments of loved ones and stay connected. And before all those integration of care and appointments was done. So I was just kind of holding 2 slips of paper, just waiting for the fateful day. Thankfully, my wife was understanding, but my brother also stepped up. So my younger brother, was able to accompany my mom to the appointment with the oncologist and the team, so I could be with my wife. But you can imagine that kind of being torn apart, just having to make a decision. Eventually, after a year and a half of struggling, my mother passed on from cancer. And just within the same month, guess what? Well, I thought caregiving was going to be over and I could now focus on being a parent caregiver to my son, right, who was then 6 months old. My dad fell because of a series of strokes called transient ischemic attacks, or TIAs, mini strokes. Turns out that his cervical spinal cord, was it the C3, if I recall, or C2, the part that was responsible or that was implicated in breathing, right, was affected. And so for a good 2 weeks, he was in the hospital and the doctors were trying to see what help he could do. But eventually, when he was discharged, he was really frail and he had breathing difficulties. He couldn't walk few steps without becoming breathless. So I stepped into the caregiving role again. This time, although with a helper, a domestic helper, we had to make difficult decisions on his care. Wow, I could just remember so many stories. But eventually, that was the time I recall. I think I was drowning because at that time, while my son was already born, right, and I was I was already, in fact, in the second time as a sandwich caregiver. But at that time, I was juggling full-time work. I was doing part-time PhD studies, and I was caregiving. So every day felt like a cycle of exhaustion. Work, caregiving, studies, repeat. Work, caregiving, studies, repeat. I had to adapt, setting routines, scheduling meals so I won't forget to eat, keeping my dad engaged on days that he felt a bit more energetic, so his muscles do not waste away. One thing I learned to focus on small wins, small victories. Some days, small wins wasn't about curing, wasn't about getting a cure for my dad and restoring his breathing ability. Some days it was just making him smile, getting him to, helping him to eat what he likes to eat, bringing him to a place where he likes to be just to enjoy, say, a movie or a musical performance, a concert. And that to me, wow, was a small victory. To him, that's huge. But to me, that's something. And I didn't know how much impact I made until later, much later. And of course, I asked for help, my brother, my friends, hospital staff, many professionals, and it wasn't easy. Caregivers like us often feel like we have to do it alone. So one thing I learned was to ask for help. Yet no matter what I did, one painful truth remained. In each of these instances, when I became a caregiver, for my grandmother, then my mother, and then my father, actually I was never really prepared. There wasn't a playbook to tell me, look, here's what you can do and what you should do for your grandmother at that point, and then for your mother, and then for your father. Much as I gained experience caregiving generally, but when it came down to the actual decisions to be made, the care decisions, when it came down to the care tasks, I can share with you, I never really felt ready. So I walked through this, if you would like, fire, this kind of crisis, one after another. And I don't know how, but something in me kind of just refused to give up. Well, I knew I had several roles to play. Somehow, by the grace of God, I survived. I survived mentally, I survived emotionally. I thought at one point I was going to get depressed, really, myself, just caring for my dad. Eventually, my dad passed on, not due to breathing difficulties, but he had a heart attack, and we were sad that he was gone just like that suddenly. But we are glad that his suffering wasn't prolonged beyond the minimal. Right. What I learned out of this transitions, I could move from just being a caregiver to becoming a change maker. I could move from care to change. When I was in the pits, when I started to question life's purposes, I stumbled upon this movie. Many of you probably have watched this. It's called Still Alice, right? If you have watched this movie, type in the chat, yes, Still Alice, right? It's a movie that describes the heartbreaking journey of a linguistic professor diagnosed with early onset dementia, Alzheimer's disease, related dementia. And what struck me the most wasn't just Alice's suffering, this professor, but her families, those caregivers, her husband, her children, watching helplessly as she forgot words, routines, and eventually the people she loved, she'd forgotten them. They struggled with denial, frustration, so many things. The impossible choice of how to care for her while holding on to their lives. These are caregivers. And that movie hit me hard. If caregiving was hard for me, and none of my three care recipients, my grandmother, my mom, and my dad, were dementia sufferers, had dementia, had Alzheimer's, had vascular dementia. How about those who care for somebody who no longer recognize them? How about caregivers of dementia patients? I started reading more and started doing research. And guess what? My PhD research topic eventually became, you guessed it, caregiving. I eventually published my thesis on this topic, the association between caregiving burden, caregiving depression, and caregivers' health status with use or non-use of long-term care services. You could easily Google that, find that in Google Scholar. As I did this, I realized that families were being thrown into caregiving roles, unprepared, just like me or worse than me. If I felt the strain, people out there are getting it worse. Some of them watch loved ones fade away without hope, right? And yet we're not talking about it. Not in Singapore, not in so many places. And as male caregivers, as men, as young men and middle-aged men, we don't talk about it. We sit in the coffee shop or at a cafe and drink our coffee alone and feel cool about it. And people look at us cool about it. We don't talk about it. Yet at the same time, we had this lack of knowledge, as if dementia is inevitable. That once you are diagnosed, that's it. And if you're not diagnosed, there's nothing you could do about it. That's in fact not true today. Families were burning in silence. And that is what motivated me to go into dementia research, so that I could move from care to change, from caregiver to a change maker. And so when I dug deeper, I realized this. 45% of dementia risk factors are actually amenable to change by the self. Risk factors like poor sleep hygiene, like poor nutrition, like poor mental stimulation, social isolation, early undetected hearing loss and visual loss. All these could be amenable to change if we knew about it and if we knew how. That particular statistic changed everything for me. It really did. If dementia wasn't inevitable, why are we waiting until people got sick in order to act? And then we call it dementia care. Why don't we do prevention efforts? One of the most famous studies on aging, if you have heard of this, is called the Nun study. Right? In this Nun study, right, something amazing, something extraordinary was found. You see, when researchers examined the brains of these elderly nuns upon autopsy after they have passed on, they found brains that were full-blown with plaques and tangles. Unquestionable Alzheimer's disease. Unquestionable. Biological. But when they correlated this finding with the interactions and the lifestyle of these nurses while they were still alive in the last years prior to passing on, they found seemingly no memory loss, no complaints by people around them, no nothing. It's as if these nuns went through all of these life as any other nun, as any other person would, while these plaques and tangles were in their brain. Why is this? That's because these nuns have trained their brains for resilience. Today we call this cognitive or mental resilience. Right? They stay active, they were socially engaged, and they were living with a purpose. So, if you're interested, Google the Lancet Commission. That's the report that was published last year, 2024, that says 45% of dementia risks are modifiable, right? And these 45% are within our control. That's when I shifted from just supporting caregivers to also supporting caregivers by helping them prevent dementia for themselves. I'd like to share with you 3 things in the program that I do today. Number 1, train your brain. A strong brain isn't a gift, it's a habit. We could learn something new, like a language, like skills, and solve puzzles. Not doing the same old thing over and over again, not sitting behind in front of the television and watching Netflix, but we could learn something new. We could train our brains by social engagement. that reduces cognitive decline, we can reach out to new people, we can reach out to other caregivers and share our stories. Right? One takeaway I could leave you with is we could challenge ourselves, you could challenge yourself to learn something new every 6 months. Train our brain. The second thing we could do is to vitalize our veins. That is improve blood circulation by exercising 150 minutes a week. That in itself cuts dementia risk by about 10%, 7 to 10%. Having Mediterranean diet, keto diet that is nutritious, sleeping 7 to 9 hours a day. And if you don't get that amount of sleep, learn how to improve your sleep hygiene. These would help us vitalize our veins. And the third method that I do in our program today, just to help caregivers in general and specifically those who have family members with dementia, is to help them share their stories. And that is what this particular platform is about. We share our stories. Stories that shape our identities as caregivers, as a member of the sandwich generation, as a person who have anxieties, as a person who may require at some point therapy, and it's perfectly fine to get into therapy, even for a psychologist, even for a scientist, right? Sharing our stories not only shape our future, but if dementia is something that we can control up to 45% of it, sharing our stories actually allow us to take concrete steps to reduce the likelihood of dementia. So 3 things I leave you with. Train your brain, vitalize your veins, share your story. I'd like to end by sharing a powerful story of one of my clients. She's a retired teacher, K1 to K12. In Singapore, we call that the primary school and the secondary school, the first 10 years of life. Right? She's a teacher of adolescents and children. She was terrified of memory loss. She's retired now. She watched loved ones fade away. She had a father and a mother-in-law who had dementia. And when she came to me, she was convinced she's going to be next. Right? I remember she telling me, look, Wayne, is there a way I could test if I have the gene called the ApoE4 gene? Is there a way? I said, yes. How much are you willing to pay for it? The money doesn't come to me. It goes to the hospital. I'm in private practice. Right? Not only that, you pay. Not only do you have to pay, you have got to wait because you are now deemed fit. You have a clean bill of health. The Singapore healthcare system gives priority to people who are diagnosed with something like dementia or Alzheimer's. So you want to test just to prevent, you got to wait like 6 months if you want to. If you really want that kind of test. So instead of waiting for decline, she took action. She started learning a new language, right? She's a Chinese and she started learning Malay. Yes, it's an Asian language. Malay is not that similar to Chinese. She started dancing twice a week. That was her, in fact, childhood hobby. She lost it during her years of career. She found it at the age of 63. And she maintained a social routine, right? Every single day, she knew exactly this part of the day, she'll connect with somebody. It could be a family member, it could be a neighbor, it could be a friend. So every single day, Monday to Sunday, she would have at least one person to connect with. She ensured that if something happened to her, people will realize she's missing, or her speech is somewhat different, or she reacts differently. Today, her memory is sharper than ever. She's living proof of the fact that our choices today shape our minds tomorrow. So if I can share with us in closing that this is something I hope we take away from this, my sharing. Right? While caregiving is difficult, yes, while caregiving is challenging, we don't have to be stuck as a caregiver and think it's doomed, it's my turn next. After my loved one is gone due to this illness or that condition, it's my turn next. When dementia is concerned, it's especially true that you could start to take action today. The question is, would you like to take action today? Think about the nun study. The nuns who had Alzheimer's in their brains, but they never had it. They never lost their minds. Think about my client, this retired teacher, at the age of 63. She refused to accept decline as her destiny. What about your own future? Would you commit to training your brain, vitalizing your veins, and sharing your stories? Because today, we won't just care for others, we will change the future of aging if we start now. From care to change. From caregivers to change makers. If this message resonated with you, thank you so much. And if you like to join me, type I commit in the chat. If it is something that you like to do today for your own brain and for your own life, type I commit. Thank you.
Wow, that was awesome. Thank you so much. That was amazing. I love how you talked about being a caregiver for multiple people. You know, when we're caregivers, a lot of times we will. It's not just one person. It just happens that we wind up being a caregiver for someone else as well, right? And that conversation that you talked about, balancing our life, our own life with our caregiving life, you know, we've got to do that because we have these robust lives. And then all of a sudden, the whole world of caregiving comes upon us. So we fit a whole nother life on top of ours. So those small wins that you mentioned, so important. I learned a lot from you today, and it was amazing to be able to hear you speak. Thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Sherelle, and you got to unmute, my friend. Unmute your mic.
I am so, listen, y'all can tell I'm excited back here. Oh my goodness. Dr. Wayne, that was phenomenal. That was powerful. That is what we need to hear.
Thank
That's
you.
what we need to see. And not just you, from the prior caregivers that spoke as well. We have phenomenal, powerful stories that's going forth today. And let me just share this. I'm going to put a plug right here because dementia patients' memory care impairment is not easy. Let me say that again for those in the
Absolutely
back
not.
that did not hear me. Somebody put it in the chat. Dementia care, impaired cognitive decline, not easy to take care of. When you guys have a chance, go and look up dementia, Parkinson, and taking care of these patients. These patients are very challenging. You tell them to go left, they want to go right. You tell them to go up, they want to go down. We have to understand the anatomy and physiology of what's going on and what part of the brain that has been affected. There are different parts of the brain that does different things in the body. A lot of times they have frontal lobar or frontotemporal impairment, what has to do with the speaking and the thought and the thinking, right? So, Dr. Wayne, thank you so much. That's a whole nother segment on talking about dementia, right? We can go on and
Indeed,
on about
indeed.
it, but definitely, if that is your uh, I'm telling you, because listen, I do cognitive impairment as well. I deal with the geriatric population as well. I did that for two
Right.
years. Okay. So, in
Yep.
that process of dealing with dementia and cognitive impairment, cognitive decline, you really have to be on your game. Their whole thought process is different now. Okay. They're not thinking
Absolutely.
normally what we would call. You follow me? So, Dr. Wayne, I'm gonna reach out to you and we'll get something going. You already in the research lab and doing things like that. I've been in the plane doing it, but I'm gonna take it to another level. So we'll get together on it. And for those of you that's in the
Sure.
audience, connect with Dr. Wayne Freeman Chong. If you're dealing with anyone that's in the dementia, cognitive impairment spectrum, dealing with your family members in this area, connect with Dr. Wayne.
Yes, if I can
Okay?
just add that dementia is preventable, and while a lot of research and treatment has been done and focused on the care of dementia, and absolutely they should continue, right? I would just like to say that, look, for those of us who are not yet diagnosed or not diagnosed, we're healthy, it is preventable, we can take steps even today. Thank you
Absolutely.
for
And
having
we
me.
know what? Thank you for showing up and saying yes, Dr. Wayne. And this is the thing,
It's a pleasure.
prevention is the key.
Yep.
Prevention is
Mhm.
the key. Somebody put that in the chat. Prevention is the key to any illness. We want to prevent these chronic illnesses, anything, any chronic illness,
Mhm.
diabetes, high blood pressure, gaining weight, losing weight. All of these things can be prevented. We have to take steps and be educated on
Mhm.
what we need to do to stay alive, healthy, and well. Can someone put that in the chat? Steps to take to be healthy, well, and live a long life. Dr. Chong started out with saying, how many of you would like to live to the age of 85 and beyond? It can be done.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Prevention is the key. Thank you for saying that, Dr. Chong. And this is with everything, any kind of chronic illness. I can't say it enough. Prevention is
Yep.
the key.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chong.
Prevention is the
We
key. My pleasure.
prevention
Yep.
is if y'all don't remember anything else, prevention is the key. Okay?
Yes.
Prevention.
Thank you.
All right. There we have it. Dr. Chung, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're going to keep this going.
Yes. My
Uh,
pleasure.
thank
Yep.
you, Dr. Chung. It's been a pleasure. Stick around, hang out with us for a little while because we want our wonderful caregivers to come back to the stage at the end and give us some wisdom keys for caregiving. So, next, without further delay, we're going to bring our next wonderful caregiver to the stage, and that is going to be Trevor Yeremiah Carter. You can bring Trevor up to the stage. We're going to introduce him. Trevor, there's his lovely face. Hi there, Trevor. Trevor, he's here. So let me
Yes.
introduce you to the wonderful Trevor Nehemiah Carter. For over 20 years, he has dedicated his career to working in community settings as a social worker, youth worker, and a mental health professional. His leadership skills also extend into the real estate sector, where he served as a director. Today, he channels his expertise into coaching, specializing in stress relief and emotional intelligence. He is the founder of a company dedicated to connecting the African diaspora with opportunities on the continent. Additionally, he hosts the podcast, Let's Talk About It, every Thursday, where he facilitates meaningful conversations. And he works as an independent travel agent with OAN Travel, helping clients explore the world. Please join us in welcoming Trevor Yeremiah Carter. And his story that he's going to share with us is Heartfelt Connections Navigating the Caregiver Path. Trevor Yeremiah Carter, take it away.
All right. Thank you so much indeed. Such a pleasure to have you on this show. I'm super excited, and it's so good to hear other men speaking out and sharing their testimony. And yes, I'm Trevor Yermai Carter. I'm based in the United Kingdom. My story is about being a carer for three individuals. How it started, I started off with my wife. She had a condition. I remember she coming in from work one day, and I realized something's not right here. And we had a good sit down and talk, and then it kept going on. The situation kept coming up again and again. And I said, we need to probably go to the doctors and have a check and see what this is. So we went to doctors, and obviously the terminology they use, it's way over my head. So when they explained what the condition was, I was like, okay, so what does that mean? And they were saying due to her bones and going out in the cold, she had to put the coat on, she had to keep the gloves on, etc., and etc. So I knew straight away this is going to put me in a position of caring because she's limited to what she can do. That now I begin to look at the word carer, and I thought, wow, I'm going to be a carer for my wife. So this was a challenging thing. The title itself can be challenging because people have different perspectives about the word carer. So anyway, I looked at it. She came
Mm-hmm.
home. She couldn't go back to work, and they tried to get her back to work. And I said, that ain't going to happen because if she goes back to work, she's who's going to look after her when something happens? They going to look after her or me? No, no, no. So we had to fight to release her pension early, and she was able to get it early, and then she was at home. And so now I have to look at my own household and say, right, what is it I need to do? She couldn't pick up her son. She couldn't pick up a kettle. Anything hurt, it
Mm-hmm.
hurts her bones. She was getting weak. Her neck was down. And sometimes she had to throw it up. So there were so many major conditions. That was a challenge for me because now I'm into stepping into a role of a carer. So again, we had to sit down and plan how we're going to monetize my time while I'm working. And that was a long
Mm-hmm.
discussion. And so we discussed and looked at how I can balance things out. And also, I've got a disability as well. And obviously, in UK, we have it called benefits. I put my name forward, turned down. Put another benefit, turned down. Put another benefit in, turned down. So I had no benefits. So I said, okay, the only thing I could do is to continue to work. And then when I started the caring, I realized the caring responsibility was a full-time commitment. So then my work was kind of declining because I realized that I have to do caring and have to be there 24/7 as far as changing the clothes, picking up my son from school, cooking the food, washing the pots, doing the clothes, getting into the shower, etc. It just went on and on and on. And I realized this is going to be challenging. So I realized that was going to be a full time position. So guess what? I couldn't work. I couldn't go back to work because of the caring capacity and it involved conflict with my caring. So as I carried on going, something else happened. I got a phone call and find out that my mum had dementia. I was like, okay, so she needed caring where my dad has already passed on. She was in the house on her own. And that time I didn't have a car. And I had to go to another city, which my mother lives, and that's probably over 2 hours on public transport. So I went down there and I spoke to my family, said, look, how are we going to measure this out? Because I'm already looking after my wife and my son. How are we going to look after my mum? With my mum out of town, my other sisters and them weren't in the country and some of them weren't in the city. So it really left it on me and my other brother to try and accommodate my mum. So when I went down to my mom, as you said, dementia is a different brainwave. They're thinking different. They behave different. They communicate different. That was something you have to get your mind round in terms of how can I deal with somebody who's supposed to be ahead but thinking backwards. So that was a challenge. The second one, trying to get her out the house. That was a major challenge because the memory was in the house and dad wasn't there. She used to walk up and down the house. She used to talk to herself. And I was like, wow, what's happening here? So I had to just try and find my way around to make sure my mom, you're safe, you're okay, everything's fine. And sometimes she said, where's your dad? Where's your dad? And I said, Mom, dad's not here. He's not here no more. But it's okay. I'm here. And she said, okay, I'm going to make something for him. And I said, Mum, he's not here. So those were the kind of communication with somebody with dementia. Again, they're thinking the other way. You have to think the opposite, but you have to level with them so you can get that level of communication. So that was a challenge. And then suddenly, trying to get her to bed was another challenge. So I ended up having to call my family and say, look, I can't come home tonight. I have to probably stay at my mum for 2 nights or 3 nights and then at times I could leave there, get on the train, and go all the way back to my house and then do full time work as well for my family. So that was another challenge. In the same year, we found out my sister had a stroke. So I ended up having to look after her, and in the same town I was in, and I had no car. I had to get on the public transport, go to her house, borrow her car, do her shopping, make sure she was looked after already, get her food prepared. So guess what happened? For 1 year, I ended up looking after 3 people for 4 years, 7 days a week. That was the bit that got me, and I was like, "Wow, what's happening here?" So the whole 4 years, I was looking after 3 people, 7 days a week. And if you ask me what day and night looked like, I couldn't tell you because I was in, out, in, out. The light, 1 minute it was light outside, 1 minute it's dark because I was constantly trying to put myself in positions to accommodate my mom, to accommodate my family, my wife, and to also accommodate my sister. But here's the thing, I had to change the way I was thinking. I couldn't pity myself no more. I had to step up the game because I was in a position where they needed me and I needed them. But also the family was helping, but they had other commitments that didn't allow them to take the time they had that I had to fill in. So that went on for 4 years, 7 days a week. It really got to me mentally. And again, I couldn't get no benefits. I was constantly trying to get work and caring at the same time. And it can be lonely. It's a lonely process. But at the same time, when you've got the network of people who care about you and family, it does make a difference. And I'm thankful for my family. So basically, as that was going on, I realized things got a bit too difficult for me. And yes, I think Dr. Chang was saying I did get depressed. I was really, really depressed because of the stress, the time, the commitment that was on me, on my mental capacity. I got depressed. But then certain things begin to come to me to realize how do I move this to another game, up to another level of preparing myself that I don't allow this to overtake me. And that happened when I came home one night. I looked at my wife and the question came to me, what happens if I go? Who's going to look after them? The light bulb came on. I said, nah, this has to stop. This has to stop. This cannot happen. If I go, based on my health, who's going to look after my wife and my son? So that's when I realized I had to change my whole narrative, change my mindset, change my diet, change the way I was organizing my days. And that was the process I had to go through for almost a year. And guess what? Even though I did have depression, I was able to reverse my depression without any medication. That was the power of it. And what struck me was the fact that our mental capacity is so powerful because I have an old saying, wherever your thinking is, your energy flows. So if you're thinking a carer and you're always negative, you're going to create a negative environment in your caring capacity and it will come out. And I begin to realize when I was doing all the mental capacity working on myself internally, it did change me as a person. And I had to realize, change the way I'm thinking, my environment change. If I think negative, my environment will be negative. If I think positive, my environment will be positive. And guess what? My caring capacity got easier because I had to be the first person to change the way I'm thinking as a carer, and then my environment changed. So that was the biggest stepping game for me that allowed me to see this is where I'm going to go now. This is how I'm going to master what I'm doing every day. And it worked. So I was able to overcome that and I began to work on my mental capacity, like Mr. Chung said. I worked on myself for over a year. And I didn't realize how powerful the mind is. It's just like a computer. Whatever you put into a computer, it, the memory catches that information that you've typed in. But it can't do anything unless you give it instructions to pass it where it needs to go to. That's the same way mental capacity is. So as a carer, whatever I was thinking, I was putting that into the computer of my mind, and the computer will remind me, oh, you're a carer, it's not going to work. But I had to change the way I was thinking, change the way I was talking. And then guess what? I put a new information into the laptop. I gave a new information, and that information transformed the way my life was. That's when I realized this is powerful. And then my caring continued, looking after my mom. Things worked out a little bit easier. Things worked out for my sister, and things worked out for my wife as well. So I begin to look at the power of the mind does have great impact on the way we think. It's not the environment that's the problem, it's the way you're thinking is the problem. Because the environment doesn't change unless you change. And I always say, wherever your thinking is, your energy flows. Whatever you're thinking, the energy will flow. And that has to be an everyday practice, especially when you're a carer, because the demands, the capacity, you got no job coming in, you got no money coming in, you can't get access to this, there's nobody around to support you. This is what made me become a better person today because I went through that. And I'm thankful for those experiences. Some people look at it and say it's a bad experience. Not every bad experience is a bad experience. Some bad experience are a good experience. Sometimes we need a bit of hardship to make us become better because it gets us out of the comfort zone to change the way we don't like the way we're living. And that's what made me become the better person today. And so, actually, today, I'm a stress relief and emotional intelligence coach. That's what I do passionately because I've realized when I'm talking to certain clients over the years, it's always the experience of the past that holding their life back from moving forward and making a difference for their self, their family, and the person who they're caring for. So these were caring capacity gave me a better ideology of what is it I can do that can change. Environment doesn't change, you have to change. And so my mother passed on now, and the experience I had with her was great. The communication I had with her was great, but I learned a lot about her and the dementia. My sister now, she's helping her with stroke. She's now getting better and stronger. Thankful to the Most High for that. And this is something because of the experience being with her, give me an opportunity to see what is possible. And also with my wife, she's getting also better as well. And also I have to look at changing my diet, which is important because certain food is not compatible with the certain hormones. So if you're always shaking all the time, like caring, it takes a lot of stress. It can also to do with the food that you're eating because certain food is not compatible to your hormones. So if you're eating something that's making you feel nervous, then you have to cut that food out. And this is how did I know that? Because I did a lot of research. I looked at myself, I looked internally, and I started to go back to the drawing board and say, right, these are some of the things I've got to cut out this, cut out this, cut out that. And guess what? It worked. It got my thinking capacity back to where it was. I'm stronger, I'm healthy, I'm fitter. And also, I'm able to give that practical advice to some of my clients who I help out now and then to understand how you are thinking has a great impact on how you're caring. So these are some of the things that I've learned, and I'm so grateful for the experience. I'm so great to be on here as well, and it gives me a upper boost to see that yes, it takes time, and you just have to take baby steps. Don't try to work out everything in caring overnight. It's a process. It's a marathon. It's not a running to win to become first. It's a process. It's a management. It's a marathon. If you're in a four by 400 relay, it takes four people to win a race. Four people to win a race in a 4 by 400 because I was an athlete and I couldn't win the 4 by 400 without the four people. So one had the bantam, pass it on to the next person. That person has it, pass it on to the third runner. And then the third runner, pass it on to the final runner. That person knows is going to win. Why? Because the first person is the one that triggers off the winner, the last runner, to become the winner. So what I'm basically saying is, whatever banter you've got in your hand, pass it on to somebody who can pass it on to somebody else to make your life easier and better. And so basically, this is where I've got to now, and I'm so passionate about caring. I'm passionate about what we're doing, and I think it's fantastic to have a carers givers meeting like this worldwide. And it's time to take it to another level and make differences. So yes, so I'm thankful for sharing that. Thank you.
Doctor, I'm going to call you Doctor Trevor. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Christine, take it because I'm going to have to come back on it.
Oh
This
my
brother
gosh.
that
Yeah,
went there. Go ahead, Christina.
I was taking
Oh my
notes,
goodness.
it was good.
Yep.
And I had not heard you before because you are from the UK. Some of the folks in the US I'm familiar with, but from the UK. So it was a treat for me. And I'm over here taking notes and relating so much to your story. Again, like we've heard from multiple people that we wind up taking care of more than one person when we're a caregiver. I was taking care of my mom. And then in the middle of taking care of my mom, my ex-boyfriend, who I dated for 17 years, after we broke up, 5 months later, he had a stroke. And so I stepped in and started caring for him too. So I'm caring for two people at once. It happens, right? And then you talked about the mindset, 3 years into my care journey, they told me I had 6 months to live because my body was literally shutting down from the stress of caregiving. The stress that you talked about, you didn't know if it was night or day, right? Same thing. And so I had to change my mindset, right? And when I started to do that, those small steps, right? What I realized was I was literally just trading in time that I had been stressing and worrying and questioning shoulda, woulda, couldas in my head. So, so many things that you talked about I could relate to. And, they're very fortunate. People are very fortunate over there in the UK to be able to have access to you. And now here we get to know you. So thank you so much. That was powerful, powerful story. And I just, the struggles of learning how to balance all of that too. So, incredible, incredible, very moving.
Yeah. I just want to add in there.
Wow.
I just want to add in there. One of the things I learned is when you get so much demand, we've got to learn to say the word no
Oh yeah,
sometimes. And I know it's hard to say to your mother because they have the old traditional way of doing things,
yeah,
But when you know you're under pressure, it's training yourself to learn to say no. You know what? I haven't got time, but I'll try and put something in place. I have to learn to do that. And
yeah,
that's why I could balance off my life a little bit more and ease off a little bit. And then I could find myself again. So saying the word no, it is hard as a carer.
yeah. And then after a while, we get good at it. No becomes that complete sentence, right? Remember that first time we had to say no? We had a
Yes.
million excuses of why, and then it didn't work, and then we're like, this no thing's not working out. And then after a while, we get very good about setting that boundary. And when you're caring for somebody with cognitive issues, you cannot usually set boundaries because they don't remember, right? So we have to
Hmm.
set boundaries with ourselves. So setting that boundary of no, I'm not going to take on that extra thing for me, for myself, right?
Hmm.
Setting those boundaries for ourselves is huge, and telling ourselves no,
Yes.
it's a big deal. And that could be a complete sentence. And that is just the best day ever when we realize we
Hmm.
are letting ourselves have that freedom. Very
That's
good
right.
point.
Hmm.
Yes. Oh my goodness. I don't even know where to start. Thank you, Christina. Oh my goodness. Okay. So just take it from the top, baby. This brother that came through and did the 1-2 knockout. Okay. Uh
Hmm.
Trevor, you got to put the icing on the cake. Even the ones that went before, everyone came and shared an individual, unique story, right? And the stories are getting better and better and gooder and gooder. Is that a
Yeah.
word, gooder and gooder? Put that in the chat. Put gooder and gooder in the chat. Because that's how we going with this thing, okay? I can just say
Yes.
this. Everyone had their own individual story. And Trevor, you brought your A game. Y'all didn't even see Trevor at all. This is Trevor time. He just not showing up, but he showed up what right on time. Trevor,
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
you shared some powerful words. One thing I will say is this: the power of the mind.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Hmm.
Let me say it again. Put it in the chat. The power of your mind, because
Hmm.
everyone has their own individual mind. So the power of your mind, how you think, what's your mindset, what's going on, because how that what the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so
That's right.
is he. If
That's
you
right.
think negative thoughts are going to come in, and that is what you're going to exhibit that comes away from your body as your energy, as your vibe, as you will. That's why when people say, oh man, your vibe ain't right, your energy kind of bold, it's because of what they're taking in.
Hmm.
Some people love to be around certain people. Some people cannot be around certain people because of that negative energy.
Yes.
So as you think it, so as it is in your mind and your body. Your body follow what your mind says. It's all connected. You cannot separate the mind from the body. It all goes
Hmm.
together. Okay?
Right.
So I just
Hmm.
want to leave you with this. The power of your mind.
Hmm.
They used to have a commercial that said, a mind is a terrible thing to what? Waste.
Waste.
Yes.
And unfortunately, with dementia, that slogan goes just right with them because they had their right mind at one time, right?
Mhm.
Now, unfortunately, due to cognitive impairment, I wouldn't say it's been wasted, but the way that they're thinking now is different. So,
Mhm.
Trevor Nehemiah Carter from the UK, the United Kingdom, thank you so much. We can go on and on and on, but I got to let the other speakers come on the stage. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
that was a powerful word. And if you don't hear anything else, mental health, mental well being,
Mm-hmm.
mental wellness. Keep your mind in check. Keep your
Mhm.
brain. Dr. Chong talked about it. I hear a common thread about dementia, 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 Alzheimer, Parkinson. This is our aging community, right? Let's keep our mind sharp, whatever we need to do to keep our mind sharp. So, like what Dr. Chong say, we can live a long, effective life with our brain. Okay? That's my
Mm-hmm.
word for the day. The power of your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Keep your
Mhm.
mind intact. Do different things for your mind to keep it intact. Okay? All
Mhm.
right. That's my story with I want to call him a doctor, with Trevor Nehemiah Carter from the United Kingdom. Thank you so much, my brother. We look forward to connecting with you. Listen, if you guys don't know, you ought to know. Connect with Dr. Trevor Nehemiah Carter. Put his information in the chat. You guys got to connect. It's a lot of things that's going to be said here today. Connect, and collaborate.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, caregiving is the common thread. Let's all connect and collaborate and work with one another. Listen, we're taking this movement to a whole nother level, a whole nother dimension. This is just the beginning. I'm just being aware of how, God want me to move in this. Okay. So stick and stay. We're going to have our next speaker come up, Keith Demps. Let's get Keith Demps come up. Thank you so much, Trevor, from the UK. Thank you so much for your time. Founder of KLD Consulting, a company specializing in self care and caregiver support. He is also the co creator of the DEMPS Caregiver Wellness Roadmap. You guys need to hear that story on that one. Oh my goodness, it's wonderful. It's a tool designed to help caregivers maintain their well being while supporting their loved ones. His dedication to empowering caregivers is both personal and professional. And today, he brings his expertise to share insights on maintaining wellness while caring for others. Please welcome to the stage to join us, Keith Demps. He's going to share with us godly spiritual guidance while caregiving. Keith, take it away.
Thank you, Sherelle. Thank you. Whoa, wow, what a powerful introduction. Christina, thank you both. Thank you all male caregivers that was previously and currently in Ather I speak. Wow, what a powerful platform. When I thought about the invitation when Sherelle asked,
Yes.
to speak, I said, what a way to unmute the mic for male caregivers, because we all are caregivers, whether we know it or not, at some stage in our life. But as a male caregiver, I want to start by saying, let's start about how God created us. We were created to solve problems. We were created as male to solve, protect, to care, to nurture. At the same time, we have to do this for ourselves. So the key is, how were you created? So we know how females were created. They are nurturers. They are caring. They balance the household and keep things in perspective. But as a male, we suppress. We put out fires. So the question is, how do you put out a fire that's out of your human control? It started with me back in 2018. I had a loved one that was in a car accident. It threw her underneath the steering wheel. She was rear-ended. The doctors treated her in the back, said, okay, you're okay. But then when they turned her over and they treated her from the front, they realized she had a tumor in her stomach the size of a basketball. Let that sink in. Rushed her to the hospital, emergency surgery. Thank God, recovered, wonderful. Done deal. Within a week's time, my mother was diagnosed with colon cancer. Now, she had just left Arizona where I was residing, and she flew to where I was born, to Orlando, Florida. So now I'm on my way to Orlando from Arizona, and let's fast forward to not only help care for my mother, but her stage was stage 4. So at this time, she's rapidly declining. So male caregivers, how do you deal with that? Type it in the chat. How do you deal with fire after fire after fire after fire, and it's humanly impossible for you to put the fire out or even maintain the fire? I see firefighters in California, sometimes they start other fires in other areas so that the current fire that's burning won't burn beyond the fire that they started, so that they can control the fire. Well, there are things in our life you cannot control, like going to Florida from Arizona, driving a Penske truck on your own, knowing your mother has colon cancer. Burying your mom, you're engaged to get married. After you bury your mom, you get married. Now you're getting married during the heart of COVID. You're looking for work, that is for your wife. You're both looking together, and the Lord lands us in New York, in the heart of COVID, where it started. I never get the experience after all this was happening, that when we moved to New York, there was a time when my wife and I, we ordered food, and the gentleman was bringing it by bike to the residence where we was living at the time in Manhattan. Now remember, COVID was really just starting. This gentleman showed up in tears, just going down his eyes. And I looked at my wife and I looked at him and said, hey, what's going on? Someone just jumped from, I don't know how many floors up and landed. He saw this on the way of delivering the food to us. Now I'm thinking to myself, here it is again. Caregiving. Even if it's just for a moment, you're caregiving now for this person that's bringing you food that you ordered. You have to turn your attention away from yourself and say, now, how can I just be a listening ear to someone that's pouring out their soul to you? which brings me to the next phase. How can one heal themselves in the soul of hurting from caregiving without sacrificing their life while they're caring for a loved one, so that 30% of most caregivers that pass away before the ones that caregiving pass away, you don't care, you don't pass away yourself. We listen, and immediately after we listen, I say, listen, can I pray for you? And we prayed for him, and we listened to him some more, and he was able to walk away back to his bike and get on and ride away, and said, thank you. Not only did I need that every day of my life. Now let's move forward. We're just married, my wife and I. We're newlyweds. We're supposed to be enjoying honeymooners, as they say. Get a phone call from my father-in-law saying, Keith, this is several years later, but like in 2022, we need you to come back. You and your wife, my daughter, we need help. Well, prior to that phone call, I woke up one day in New York and I couldn't walk. I could not walk. I couldn't stand up. Well, little did I know, I was a sports person since the age of 8 years old, year round, from soccer to football to track, you name it, wrestling. Well, I tore my MCL bilateral, both knees. And the doctor said, you need treatment. So since 2022 to now, fast forwarding, I have not worked. Not that I did not want to. I've worked since I was a kid. But when you are having trouble walking or sitting, and even prior to me coming on live here with you all, I had to get up several times because I'm so uncomfortable or in pain, even as I speak now, because of MCL tear, especially in the left knee, bilateral. It's uncomfortable. And needless to say, I'm still a caregiver. We are, both my wife and I. And we're teaching caregivers how to care for themselves while they're caring for loved ones. But remember, there's a fire that's going on in your life that's beyond your control. So what do? So now we're going back to Texas. And her parents, back in 2016, they were in a head-on collision. Unfortunately, the gentleman that crossed the line passed away in the accident. My father-in-law was a double amputee below and above the knee. My mother-in-law, she went out the window, head first, side window. So front end damage. So her thinking and her ability to think, and Alzheimer's, as Sherelle, you spoke about it early, and many others prior to me getting on here live, she's cognitive, she understands, but sometimes you tell them to go right, and yes, they go left. So then once we got back here in Texas, and we're caring now for her parents, my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my parents. My wife said, Keith, how do we be successful in life, mentally, emotionally, financially, and most of all, spiritually, and maintain ourselves as caregivers and continue to care for them as well as take care of ourselves? Well, I found out the answer is I must dig deep inside. As Trevor just said, and I loved it, so wonderful. My thinking had to change. But please understand, I couldn't change my thinking myself. I asked the Lord, I said, Lord, how do I change my thinking? I need help. You're my Lord, you're my God, you're my Savior. You're the one who said, I never leave you nor forsake you. I never will leave you nor forsake you. I'll be there until the end. And then he also said, I will keep your mind in perfect peace who stayed on me. Then he also said, let my words abide in you and you abide in me. I said, aha. I went to my wife and said, this is the answer. Here's what we're going to do. We're not going to stop caregiving, but first we're going to take care of ourselves spiritually so. And here's how we're going to do it. We're going to seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness. And then all these other things that we desire and that we need, he'll add it unto us. He'll show us how to take care of ourselves. He'll show us how to do what's next. He'll show us what to eat, what to drink, how to pray, how to love, how to listen, how to just operate in a way here on this earth and be successful, have peace of mind, have some joy, and at the same time, be successful in caregiving. But, your problems are not going to go away. Put that in the chat. Your problems are not going to go away. In fact, when you pray like this, they're going to increase. Because in my belief in the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, I'm going to suffer for his name's sake, as well as dealing with the caregiving at the same time. But I can promise you this. There was an order in which we had to change our way of thinking. There's a way of living, and we can be as males and females and whoever you are successful in life by putting the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ first, by seeking first his kingdom and his righteousness, by pouring into your spirit man first, so that not only what you're doing here on this earth will last just on this earth, but will go for eternity. You will have joy, you will have happiness, and that happiness is not predicated upon the world, because then you would need something happening to have happiness. No, what you will be saying is, Lord, I get my strength from you based upon your word from what you say, and I can live a holy life here, and I can care for that loved one. And in my heart, here's where it is, here it is. I can turn them over to you. And I can take all of my cares, all of my crying, all of my heaviness, and I can give it to you and give them to you and give myself to you, so that in return, I can have peace. I grew up in Orlando, Florida, and when you would have a hurricane come through, hurricanes would come through, and thank God it will give you opportunity to prepare for them. In the eye of a hurricane, there's peace, there's calmness. What I'm saying is, stay in the eye of the Lord and in his word, and know him for his word, and pour all of your concerns, all of your cares, all of your heartaches, all of your burdens to him. But you say, Keith, I am not a Christian. I don't serve your God. Well, neither was the person that my wife and I visited in Taiwan, Taipei. We were on a tour, and he was doing a tour guide for my wife and I. He took us all over, and he showed us the different gods that he served and the type of gods, one a god of wind and one of fire. And we observed all of that, and we listened, and it was beautiful. It was a beautiful tour. Then he asked, what God do you all serve? And we told him, Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. He said, can you pray for me? I said, sure. What I'm getting at is, if what's not working for you, then search the heart Don't try to change the problems by adding problems to ourselves, because God created us, remember what I said, as problem solvers. Turn to a higher authority that's the one that created you, so that that burden and that yoke will be easy that he gives you, because his yoke is easy and his burdens is light. It's not to say that you're not going to cry, you're not going to suffer, and you won't experience heartache, but you were able to be coping in life in a way that you will have a calmness, and there's a peace, and there's a joy, so that when you're plugged into him, you can get restored, and then you're able to pour out to others what you have been just poured into. And one of the things that we forget as males is how to express ourselves in a way of saying, I'm hurting. I need help. And I have been hurting for many years in terms of caregiving for others, where people will take your kindness for weakness. But I've learned, like I think Christina says, the biggest thing that you can learn, aside from learning the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ and have an intimate relationship with him and say, Lord, come into my life and save me and fill me with your spirit, is learning how to say no without allowing others' emotions or thoughts or their feelings being played on you for you saying no. Because remember, if we don't learn how to say no, then we're always pouring out and we're never pouring back into oneself, so that we could be nurtured, charged up, and not be used and abused. The Lord and Savior Jesus Christ never intended for us to be speed bumps to be ran over, just because God created us as problem solvers, as male caregivers. This platform that the Lord has allowed us to have, the second annual Male Caregivers platform, is powerful. It's nurturing. It's happiness in the Lord. It's peaceful. And most of all, it's profitable. And most of all, we love you. I don't care what nationality you are, what male you are, female, we love you. But especially my brothers, caregivers, males. I thank God for Sherelle and Christina. This is powerful. But first, put the oxygen on yourself and go spiritual first and go inwardly, outwardly. And I promise you, you'll have peace and you'll have joy and you'll have happiness. And it won't just last for this time on this side, it'll last with you for eternity. My name is Keith Demps, and you can reach me at kldconsultants.com, and my beautiful wife as well. Thank you, Sherelle, as I turn this back over to you all and Christina. I have had a wonderful time, and I look forward to my other caregivers coming behind me to hear what you say. Y'all stay in, plugged in, type in comments, and let us know what you think and where you're from. God bless you.
That was great. Keith, I met you. I believe we were in, I think it was, gosh, was it New Jersey or Pennsylvania? I can't remember. We were at a caregiver conference and you and your beautiful wife were there. And
Yeah.
I think we were speaking at the same time. So I didn't get to hear the both of you. So yeah, today I was looking forward to today. So thank you so much for sharing. And, when you talked about the delivery person, who came to your door and just needed a minute to have that ear. It's funny how caregivers, we have that happen to us a lot. People will just, I guess I just sense that we're somebody who's going to be compassionate, and be able to hear them. So I'm glad you were there for them. And there was so much stuff, when you talked about taking care of yourself, we talked about those statistics before, 30% of caregivers pass away before the person they're caring for, 35% pass away within 5 years of the person they're caring for. And caregivers over the age of 70, 65% of them pass before the person they're caring for. So it's very important. And I believe that the spiritual side of it, because caregiving affects us emotionally, mentally, physically, financially, socially, and spiritually,
Yes.
right? And the
Mhm.
spiritual side of it is so important, and whether your spiritual side is praying to God, to Buddha, or Larry from the convenience store, whatever it is, your faith is important. And if it's
Absolutely.
not working, you get a different one, right? I mean, I'm very much a believer in God, and but what I found is sometimes on that caregiving journey, I actually was putting more faith in the doctors and more faith in mom than I was praying to God, but I was putting more faith in the people around me, and they're just human, right? And
Mhm.
so I had to switch that up and be real about who I was actually having faith in.
Mhm.
I was talking to God, but having faith in someone else. So I
Yeah.
appreciate, you sharing about that and being so open, because I know that people get nervous about talking about faith. And, you talked about who you pray to, and but there are other people who have other religions, whatnot, right? And so, but it's just so important, whatever it may be, honor that for you. And if
Mhm.
it's not working for you, change it up and find a way to do that, you know? And I think that, there were so many times in my caregiving journey that I questioned God, and I said, why, God, why? I don't understand why this is happening. But it's like I woke up one day and I went, I get it. I know why now. I know why now. And it was at that time that my face started being. I wasn't just praying anymore. My face started being back to Him, not
Mhm.
so much the doctors. I was praying for the doctors and praying for my mom rather than acting my prayers out to them. So thank you so much for your talk today, and I'm so glad that I got to see you today, and tell your beautiful wife hello, and for letting you come on today and be with us. So thank you so much. It was a treat.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. God bless. To God be the glory.
Hmm.
Yes. Yes.
Amen. Wow, wow, wow. Listen, I'm not going to keep y'all here long, but I got to tell you guys something. Dr. Cat and Mr. Keith Demps are my core married couple. So,
Yes.
you have people that come on your platform for different reasons. They are my married couple. They love what they do. They both have spoke on the platform before. Dr. Cat, hello to you, my sister. Thank you so much for giving us letting Mr. Keith come on once again. So this this is what we do. So just to put a little
Amen.
plug in some of the places, so we getting ready to go to a commercial break. I love when you talk about the spiritual side, because guess what? Like, I'm gonna piggyback on what Christina said. Whatever your higher being is, whatever it takes to keep you anchored, to keep you sane, to keep you in that place of peace, that's what you do.
That's right.
Don't let
That's
anyone take you out of that space. Because I'm gonna tell you something right now. If you do, that's where all that chaos come in at. Now you know that the enemy will try to come in any way he can, baby, through your family, through your friends, through your loved
Right.
ones, through your people at work. Listen, keep your mind stayed on God.
that's right.
Your
Hmm.
higher being, whoever you want to call it, don't idolize it, but know that you know who your
Mm.
higher being is. And we
That's
know it's
right.
not us. People
Yeah.
ask me all the time, oh, so well, how do you do it with the global caregivers? I mean, you got to set this up, set that up. It's not me. It's the Holy Spirit that orchestrated all of this.
That's
Okay?
right. That's
I
right.
just follow instructions.
That's right.
And I'm telling you right now, we have to follow instructions. Just like when you guys signed up for this, it was important that you have followed the instructions to get where we at today. And that means what? Coming to rehearsal. That means being on time. That means making sure all your I's are dotted, all your T's are crossed. This
That's
is a global platform.
yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
know where they're watching from. So you
That's
got to
right.
come with your A game. And y'all already know me. I'm a stickler for excellence.
Yeah.
But that's the way God had us. He wants us to be. Listen, God did things in excellence.
That's right.
No, we are not perfect, but we want to get close to perfect as possible. So
That's right.
that means doing what we need to do as caregivers,
Hmm.
and that's representing the caregiving world.
Hmm.
Global Caregivers Network. This is a network. Global Caregiver Speakers is the network. So
Yes.
let's keep this going. This is a movement. Global Caregivers Network and Global Caregiver Speakers is going to be here. Okay? Whether I'm here or not, y'all take the torch. Like someone pointed out, it takes 4 people to run this race.
That's right.
So this is
Amen.
why you have co-hosts. You might have 2, 3 co-hosts, but you got to work and collaborate with others to make this thing happen. And that's what I do with my beautiful sister, Christine Keys. As soon as I asked about being a co-host, she's in the caregiving arena. So you connect with people and make that thing work the best way you know how. I can't wait for us to go live where we're in person. We can actually reach out and touch one another. So I'm
Yeah.
not going to keep you any longer. Mr. Keith Demps, you set us off for that intermission right now. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank all of the previous caregivers. Listen, don't go nowhere. Take a 10-minute break. We're going to come back and kick it off with Keith Jordan. Okay? So take 10 minutes and we'll see you guys on the flip side of 10 minutes. So 10 minutes from now, I'll be about, just go with 11:28, no later than 11:30. Meet us back here for the second half of the second annual Global Male Caregivers Summit, April 2025. See you on the flip side. Thank you.
As an adult child, when caring for an aging parent, there is often concern about how they are doing when you are not present. To extend your oversight in these situations, there is Sociavi. Sociavi is easy to use. The older adult receives a dedicated device, the Sociavi C2M Connect to Me device, designed to accommodate their needs when their vision, hearing, dexterity, or cognition may be affected. When you, your family members, and anyone who will securely connect with your loved one install the Sociavi companion app on their smartphones, you will be able to instantly communicate with them, no matter where you are in the world, and they do not need to do anything. Through the touch of a button on the Sociavi companion app, your face will appear on your loved one's Sociavi C2M, and you can start interacting with them. Simplicity is the cornerstone of Sociavi. Its setup is as easy as 1, 2, 3. You take the Sociavi C2M out of the box, connect it to the power outlet, and connect the external speakers to the back of the Sociavi C2M. As the Sociavi C2M starts, the first time, you will need to select the Wi-Fi and enter the password. And the Sociavi C2M is ready. The Sociavi C2M has other features, like the brain fitness modules, to engage and stimulate the creativity and curiosity of your loved one. They love it. Sociavi, connecting generations made simple globally for your loved ones.
Welcome to our global family, where our lineage is not determined by DNA. It is determined by our relationship and our love for one another.
every day when she came home, she pretty much worked where cooked food most of her life, and she always made sure that the kids that was attached to the family had pretty much had something to eat every day.
My profession was my ministry. I feel if you can't get to the heart of a student, you can't teach them very well.
We were all raised by you all, and we learned from you all, and we act very much similar to our parents.
Dave Nassani, the Caregiver's Caregiver, has just released his 6th book entitled It's My Life Too, Thrive to Stay Alive as a Caregiver. It was specifically written for caregivers who know they should be putting their needs first, but just don't know how. Dave is the sole caregiver to his wife, Charlene, since 1996. He knows firsthand what caregivers are going through, because he is one. He now speaks all across the country, offering caregivers his amazing caregiver support package. Even the airlines tell us that in the event of an emergency, to put your oxygen mask on first, before you help your child with their mask. They know that those who don't heed their advice often black out, thus becoming unable to help either themselves or their child. And caregivers are exactly the same way. It's My Life Too, Thrive and Stay Alive as a Caregiver will help caregivers who are neglecting their sleep, diet, and social life and learn to put their needs first. Pick up your copy today or buy one for your special caregiver, on sale everywhere and at caregiverdave.com.
Hi, my name is Larry Greiner, and my mother had Alzheimer's. I was her full-time care partner and caregiver for over 6 years. I relocated from California back to Maryland to relieve my brother, who had been caring for our mother for a number of years on his own. My main goal was to also spend some quality time with my mother, to be able to keep her active, to enjoy life as much as possible. We did this by enjoying her familiar music and also interacting with so many good people in the park we visited regularly. These activities changed her focus, opened her mind and her spirit and her personality. It made the biggest difference in the journey that we had over the past 6 years. I would do it all over again if I could. I miss her so.
Meet John L. Webb Jr., founder of Medication Call Reminder, a company dedicated to helping people live healthier lives by taking the right medication and the right dose at the right time. With over 30 years of experience in the healthcare and eldercare industry, John is passionate about his work as it helps people stay emotionally and physically healthy. As a long-distance caregiver for his mom, John knew the challenges that caregivers and individuals face in managing medication regimens. That's why he created Medication Call Reminder, a service that uses technology to improve medication adherence and caregiver support. In this presentation, we will discuss the importance of medication adherence, the challenges that caregivers and individuals face, and how Medication Call Reminder can help to overcome these challenges. So, let's get started with the presentation on using technology to improve medication adherence and caregiver support.
All right, we are back. We are back. We are excited to get started with our next speaker. Our next speaker is going to be the amazing Kevin Jordan, and he knows exactly what it takes to push the limits and to maximize performance, both in life and in business. He is a highly sought after performance coach and consultant at Max Performance, where he helps individuals and organizations unlock their full potential. With a background in high performance training, leadership development, and personal transformation, he's worked with professionals from across the industries to elevate their mental and physical resilience. Today, he's here to share his insights on achieving peak performance and sustaining success in any environment. So please join me in welcoming the amazing Kevin Jordan. Oh, you are muted, Kevin.
My apologies. Thank you, everyone. I thought I would have my green screen, the video shown in the back, so please excuse me for my backdrop. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Well, welcome. My name is Kevin Jordan. I am the founder, CEO of a company called Max Performance, where we provide technology to young people who are athletes and are dealing with mental health challenges. So my mission in life has been mental health and wellness. I am a former businessman, owner of a mental health clinic in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, that I started years ago. And I realized years ago that people were struggling with mental health challenges. And so what our goal was is to put something in place where people of different cultures could access mental health services from people who look like them. And so I founded a clinic. Since that time, I took that a step further and looked at how we can impact student athletes and their well-being. And so here we are. I'm developing an application to be used throughout for student athletes to improve the way that they think and to improve their mindset. But long before that, I was a caregiver. I started out being a caregiver as a teenager. I had an older, my dad, he had cancer. And so we had to take care of him to provide an environment for him that was safe, where he could heal from being in cancer treatments. Now, myself at the time, I was a teenager. And so my sister and I would have to take care of my parents, my father, take him to appointments. He was in and out of nursing homes for a number of years. And so we would have to go and get him, stay at the nursing homes, watch over him, making sure that he was getting the care that he needed. Then he would come home and be in the home environment. And this was a challenge for me because, as I said, I was a teenager at the time. And so in doing so, I had to sacrifice a lot of the activities that I would do as a kid in order to take care of my dad. So after a number of years, he passed. And then it was later on that I got married, had a family, and then my mom became ill. So now me and my sister are taking care of my mother. And that was a challenge for me because here, just like in the case where we had Dr. Wayne talking about having to make a decision to be with my family or be with my ailing mother. And as a new father, it was a challenge because I had young kids that I needed me. But nonetheless, my sister and I took care of my mom for a number of years until she passed. Once that happened, things started to change. I started to have, the grief and the remorse, always thinking that you could do more and what could I have done to improve her situation. Nonetheless, that led me on the journey to understanding the importance of taking care of yourself and your mental health. So what I wanted to say today is that I have some points that I want to make to this group. And the message that I want to give is about the man giver and balancing your selflessness, and your self-care. And so after losing, when we talk today about uh, self-care and selflessness, there are some points that we need to understand. And so what I want to try to get across to this group is the need to ensure that you are balancing being selfless, but also your self-care. Caregiving is, it's one of the most selfless things that a person can do. You're always, looking out and sacrificing. You're having to have concern for the people that you're taking care of. But there's a cost that comes with that. And that cost a lot of times comes in time that you're sacrificing. It comes in and often in the energy that you have to give up in order to do the things that your loved ones are in need of. And oftentimes it's done in silence. You wake up early, you go to sleep late. You're running errands. You're doing those things. You're managing medication. You're looking for working a job. You're trying to be emotionally strong for your family. And sometimes you're doing that all at once. And it's the convergence of taking care of my family, yet and still have to take care of myself. And so with that being said, we have to do things that are important to relieve the stress, because all of these things that we're doing and taking care of our family and still having to manage our lives produces stress. And that stress adds up. And you might, it adds up and it reveals itself in a number of ways. One is that you may feel tired. And oftentimes we like to brush those things off. And, you cannot always put yourself aside. You might feel irritated at times or feeling distant from others. You may even feel like your emotions don't matter because someone else's needs are greater than yours. Having concerns for others is stressful. And so with that being said, the mindset of a caregiver is one of sacrifice, is one of concern, is one of selflessness. But that also can be a dangerous mindset because you can't help others if you're emotionally bankrupt. Mental health doesn't mean that you're weak. It means being human. And oftentimes being aware of your engine and knowing that your engine could be running low. Even superheroes need rest. Even soldiers need support. So now that, we talked about the mindset of a caregiver, let's talk about selflessness, because selflessness needs balance. We are now in a time where a lot of information is being thrown at us. We're having to balance so many things in our lives, not just being a caregiver. Some of us still have families. Some of us have children. We may even have grandchildren. All right. But one thing we need to understand is that selflessness needs balance. Now, and don't get me wrong, being selfless is powerful. Too much selflessness without boundaries becomes self-destruction. You don't stop being a man just because you're a caregiver. You still need room to breathe. You still need to be yourself. Sometimes you need to say no when your plate is full. And so here's the truth. You can't be everything for everyone. You just can't. And too many of us are in a position where we're having to take care of everyone else. You're having to run errands for other people. You're having to do all these other things, okay, for others. But if you give 100% to someone else every day with nothing left for yourself,
You will break. Balance is not selfish. It's strategic. You know, I want to give you some tools, some pointers to help you in this journey of taking care of others. And so a couple things that we want to make sure that we do. And I want to, give hats off to the other presenters, Trevor, Dr. Wayne, the presentations that you guys gave, the emotion that was put into that, the experiences and hope that they shared is invaluable. And so in this journey, we want to make sure that we do things that are going to preserve us so that we can help take care of others. So there's a couple things that we want to address here. One is that you got to set some boundaries, small boundaries. And maybe that's like 15 minutes a day just for you. Maybe asking for help from a friend or a relative or even a therapist. And I heard someone mention therapist. And I come from a business background where we provided therapy to people. So I'm well aware of the need for therapists. I even have a saying that every therapist needs a therapist because of the weight that people are carrying in taking care of others. And as a man, we're often told to power through things, to man up. But is that real strength? No, real strength is knowing when you need help. Real strength is being wise enough to ask for it. And too often times we set ourselves up so that we have to carry burdens and things that are not necessarily ours and that we can somehow get relief from those things. The point 3 I want to make is taking care of yourself without guilt. Let's kill this myth right now. Taking care of yourself is not a luxury. It's a necessity. You can't care for someone and give your best if you're falling apart. You can't take care of yourself if you don't go to your doctor's appointments. If you're not taking time to breathe, to meditate, to reflect. Take time to talk to someone about what you're going through. Find a support group that can help you navigate the challenges that you're facing. And do things that remind yourself of who you used to be before you were a caregiver. Because it's important to get back and to do those things that matter to you. You only are strong, and it can help someone else if you are strong and if you take care of yourself. And this is actually where the healing starts. Not when the caregiving ends. It's when the healing begins. But right now, you may be in the middle of it. And so taking care of yourself means that you're a better caregiver. You make yourself a better man by taking care of yourself. And oftentimes we want to minimize what we're going through and not talk about what we're going through. And it keeps building up inside of us. And then we come to that place where we crash. And so this what I want to say to you, I'm urging all of you, to make sure that you always take care of yourself, because you're only as good if you're able to provide for others, but you have to provide for yourself. And so in my closing, what I want to say to you, brothers, is that one, you're not alone. There are many of us who are out here who have been providing care, who are in the, either people who have provided care, people who are providing care, people who are about to provide care. And all of them are in need of wisdom, of guidance, of assistance to help them navigate their challenges. And that's why I really implore upon having healing groups of men, of caregivers, so that you can share your experiences and so you can help one another and so that you could be helped. And last, what I want to say is this: you're not weak for feeling stressed. You're not selfish for needing space. And you're not broken for being tired. You are a man giver. You are a sacred work. And you matter. So let's take care of others. Let's give them the love and the support that they need. But that starts by taking care of ourselves. And in this process, that's just not the healthy way. That's the strong way. That's the smart way. And I thank you guys for your time. I hope this message can resonate with you. And it's very important that we all give ourselves the opportunity to take care of ourselves and do what we can. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kevin. That was amazing. So there were a couple things that stood out to me. Well, there was like a million great points that you had in there. But a couple things that stood out to me. You said you can't take care of somebody if you're not taking care of yourself first. I love that, right? And balance is not selfish, right? And then you talked about finding a support group. So those were some of the main things that I took away from that, although there was a million pearls of wisdom. So I want to say thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your wisdom with all of us. We are very, very, very grateful.
Well, thank you for having me. And thank you to all the presenters who have been presenting today. I think it's been a great job. It's been such a wellspring of information that's been provided. And I hope that some of these messages resonate with the caregivers who are watching, and they can take these things with them and to live their journey and improve their journey, but most of all, to take care of themselves in the process.
Absolutely. And make sure, Kevin, too, on whatever platform you're sharing this on today, to put how people would contact you in the chat.
Sure. I'll put it in the chat.
Perfect. Okay.
All right.
Well, we're going to go ahead and move on now. Thank you so much, Kevin, again. And I have the honor of introducing an amazing person, Mr. Lance A. Slatton. He is known as the Senior Care Influencer. He is a writer, an author, a healthcare professional with over 20 years in the industry. He is the host of the award-winning podcast, and actually one of my favorite podcasts, and the YouTube show All Home Care Matters. He is a leading voice in long-term care, and he also serves as a senior case manager at Enriched Life Home Care Services in Livonia, Michigan. Lance has been recognized as 50 Under 50's award recipient and was named the top influencer in healthcare agencies for 2024. His contributions extend beyond his podcast, and he is also a columnist for multiple healthcare and news publications. Today, he's going to share valuable insights on senior care advocacy and long-term care solutions. Please welcome the amazing Lance A. Slatton.
Oh, thank you, Christina. You're way too kind. I just want to tell Kevin how much I appreciated, what he shared with us. And it's true. And it's a theme that I think we have heard from a lot of the presenters today. And one that I share with people constantly, both through the podcast and with the families that we serve here in Michigan. And that is really, you're not alone, and I think that's vitally important, especially for male caregivers, because as men, a lot of us, kind of have a little thing called pride, and we don't like to ask for directions and we don't like to ask for help. We can always fix it ourselves. But when it comes to caregiving, I think that is one area we do have to just accept help and acknowledge that we need it and recognize that it's okay to ask for help, because you can't do this journey all on your own. And as I'm going to share with my story, it's something that I found out after the fact, but not during the journey. And that was when caring for my father, life's most profound journeys often begin with a simple phone call. And mine started at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. And I answered the phone, and then on the other end was, at the time, I didn't know it, but it was a home healthcare nurse. And she said, "Your father's had surgery, and we have some concerns that he's able to adequately care for the wound that he had suffered." And so in that moment, even though I didn't realize it at the time, I had just became a caregiver, a role I never auditioned for, never imagined, and completely felt unprepared to play. This is really a story of how caregiving shattered my assumptions, reshaped my priorities, changed my career trajectory, and taught me that love is less about grand gestures and more about just showing up day after unpredictable day. So at first, I operated on autopilot, hospital corridors, multiple surgeries, the red tape that we all face in the healthcare system, and a crash course in how to be a caregiver. I never Googled what do caregivers do because that would be an endless search result. I just did what most sons, daughters, and spouses would do if they were in the same situation that I was in. And that's doing whatever is needed to make sure that our loved ones' needs are met. My dad, once my anchor, my fixer of flat tires and broken hearts, now needed me to fix his meals, take him to appointments, make sure he had all of his prescriptions, and anything else that comes with all of our day to day lives. Now, in full transparency, the role reversal was vertigo inducing. I started to resent the loss of my independence. I was a newlywed pursuing medical school in my early 20s, and the flexibility of being able to go to a movie or go to dinner or study or take exams with my wife or in class with my phone turned off, some of that feelings of guilt started to creep in. For example, one night as, I picked up his dinner, he had whispered, "I'm sorry." That's when I realized, this wasn't just my life that had been upended. I had to start acknowledging and recognizing his head as well. His grief actually mirrored mine. We were both mourning the lives we thought we would have at that point. My father was in his mid 60s, newly minted retiree from a great job. He didn't imagine he would have to come live with his son and his new daughter-in-law and rely on me for everything. But in the cracks of our broken normal light crept in. I discovered some resilience I didn't even know I had. When I couldn't lift him, I learned to advocate. When I couldn't fix, I learned to listen. We found our new rhythms. Laughter during the times that I had to help bathe him. His crooked grin when I'd have to call him out for being stubborn. And for anyone that had parents in the Marine Corps back in the 60s, you realize it was a whole different world back then. Men were men, Marines were Marines, Army was Army. They didn't accept defeat. They always thought they would find a way through. And this was a situation that was very evolutionary for my father as well. Caregiving became less about doing for and more about being with. I stopped seeing him as a patient and remembered him as he was, a man who loved Sinatra, bad puns, and pancake breakfasts. Our relationship deepened in ways ordinary life never would have allowed us for. Here's the paradox, though, that no one tells you. Caregiving is exhausting, but it's also clarifying. It really strips away all the trivial stuff. You learn to find joy in the small victories, a full night's sleep, a coherent sentence, even a moment of recognition in your loved one's eyes. I became less of a medical student and more of a student about grace, both his and my own. On hard days, I'd recall his words, "You're doing better than you think." And slowly, I began to believe them. This journey taught me that strength isn't about stoicism, it's about showing up scared. That vulnerability is not a weakness, especially for male caregivers. It's not a weakness, it's the glue of human connection. And that love, in its purest form, is simply saying, "I'm here, even when here is messy and hard." To anyone here navigating the unplanned, you're not alone. You can't plan for the unpredictable. You can't prepare for when you're going to be a caregiver because you don't know if the day will come or when it will come. The road isn't straight, it's very uneven, but you'll find reservoirs of courage that you didn't know existed. And in those quiet moments, maybe while helping to fold their laundry or waiting in the doctor's office, you'll discover a profound truth like I had. Caregiving isn't just about giving care, it's about receiving the unexpected grace of an altered heart. Our loved ones need us at their most, when they're vulnerable, when they're sick, when they're going through illness, or when they're hardly the person we remember or recognize. They're still there on the inside. But in order to do what they need us to do and to show up every day for them, we have to practice that self-care, like many of the other speakers have spoken about today, and remembering we're not alone. As you can see by this wonderful summit that Sherelle and Christina are hosting, there's many of us out there. Some we may never even meet or ever hear from because they don't know where to find us at. So all of us doing our part, raising awareness, talking about it, not being afraid, ashamed, or embarrassed, only helps to support those other caregivers. And I'm going to be biased, especially the male caregivers. In my job as a senior case manager with our company, 9 out of 10 families that we meet with, we're meeting with the daughter, we're meeting with the wife. There's a rare occasion where we're meeting with the son, but that's because he's an only child. We have to give that support and that permission to male caregivers to first recognize they are a caregiver and that's okay, but to also recognize there's help out there and don't be afraid or embarrassed to ask for it. And to remember you're not alone and that you need to take care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved one. Thank you guys so much for having me speak today. If we can ever be of help here at All Home Care Matters, feel free to visit our website, allhomecarematters.com. Send me a connection request on LinkedIn. We have over 400 episodes with great resources, great information, or if you just have questions, any way we can help. That's why we do what we do. Thank you.
Just when I
Thank
think I
you.
couldn't like you
Thank you,
anymore.
Lance.
My
I am
pleasure.
here. I am here. I am here. I heard everything.
Always good to see you, Sherelle.
Go ahead, Christina.
Yeah,
Thank
you
you
know,
so much, Lance. Listen, this
My
like
pleasure.
with everyone that came on the platform already before you. Go ahead, Christina. Yeah.
you know,
Go
I've
ahead,
followed you
Christina.
for a long time, Lance. We've worked together, and there are so many great qualities about you and the amazing work that you do. And just hearing some of the things that you talked about today, you talked about, things as simple as going to a movie became tough as a caregiver. I love that realness of that because it did,
Right.
and the relationship, the role reversal, that happened, right? And also, one of the biggest things that you talked about is that I loved is becoming a student of grace, and also that relationship deepening. Mine and my mother's relationship through our care journey, it completely changed, and really, it was tough. But we had the relationship I had longed for a really long time throughout my childhood. And so I love that you brought that up. And I love that we got to hear your wisdom. And I'm hoping people will, log on to All Home Care Matters and be able to hear more of your wisdom on a regular basis because you have so many great podcast shows. So make sure that whatever platform you're on today, Lance, watching, you put in All Home Care Matters links because people do not want to miss those shows. So thank you for all you do.
Thank you for the invitation to speak.
Absolutely. And I can't even say any more than what Christina have already said. But Lance, I know you are the power man, okay? All home care matters. That's what all this matters. And then I see the common thread with everyone. I noticed that a lot of you guys have taken care of your mom or your dad with dementia. That has been a common thread through this presentation, seemed like on the platform today. All I can say about that is this: keep your mind, keep your mind together. Because dementia, we already see what's going on with our loved ones, right?
Yeah.
So the power of your mind. I cannot stress that enough. We have to do this for ourselves, for us.
Yeah.
As caregivers, we go above and beyond, and we are not immortal. We have to take care of ourselves. And listen, everything goes in. What goes in comes out. Someone talked about the energy, Dr. Chong, that energy that you take in, Get around positive people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to talk about some tips in a minute, okay? But one thing I want to say is keep your mind together. The power of your mind is going to make a difference in moving forth with everything, okay? So
Can I
that's what
add
I'm
one
leaving with
thing,
the
Cheryl?
audience. Put in the chat again the power of your mind. Yes, go ahead, Lance.
This is unrelated, but I just want to know what church Keith and his wife go to, because I felt like I was going to church.
Right. He took us to church. He
Yeah, he
took us
did.
to church. Yeah.
Amen to that.
Sometimes we need that. Y'all do that. Put it in the chat. Put it in the chat. What church y'all attend, Keith and Dr. Cat, because we do need that. We need that anchor of God here. You know what I'm saying? So it's always someone come on the platform and talk about the word of God and talk about the spirituality of taking care of loved one. What is your spirituality? Do you even have one? Are you doing this alone? You feel like you're doing this all by yourself? I believe a spirit of pride may come up with some people that I can only do this. They don't want their family members to help them. Listen, that's a whole nother sermon for a whole nother day. Because you do have family members that get that power struggle going. Well, I can do it my way. We don't need to do it your way. We cannot get into that. Everyone has their own unique way to take care of mama and daddy and other family members. No, it may not be your way, but I have my own unique way of doing it. So we all have to come together as siblings, as loved ones, to take care of the common denominator, which is the family, the one that you need to take care of. And guess what? We don't have to be all there at the same time. Let's rotate this thing. You know what I'm saying? I can see you in passing. You tell me what you did, and I'm gonna pick up from there. So let's not get into these power struggles. I hear a lot of conversations, about caregiving and siblings and how they feel that their way is the only way to take care of their loved one. And it is not. So on that note, we're going to keep this moving. Lance, thank you so much
Thank you,
for coming to
everybody.
the stage.
Thanks,
All
Lance.
home
Absolutely.
care matters.
Thank you,
Connect with
guys.
Lance. Okay. Next coming to the stage. Thank you, Lance. Go ahead, Christina. You have the next one, Scott Wells.
All right. Yes, it is an
Go
honor
ahead.
for me to introduce Mr. Scott A.
Here.
Wells. He is a true champion for veterans and a dedicated leader in the field of home health care. He's made it his mission to honor and support senior veterans who wish to maintain their independence while receiving compassionate, personalized care in the comfort of their own homes. As the CEO of the Purple Hearts Home Health, he leads an organization that goes beyond traditional home health services, offering skilled nursing, rehabilitation, and even legal advocacy to help veterans access the benefits that they deserve. Under his leadership, Purple Heart Home Health partners with Veteran Affairs and is accredited with Tri-West Insurance, ensuring that those who have served with our nation receive the highest level of care and support. His passion for advocacy, dignity, and respect is at the heart of everything his team does, transforming the home health care experience for senior veterans and their families. Please join me in welcoming the amazing Scott A. Wells.
Hi, guys. I really appreciate the opportunity, both Cheryl and Christina. Thank you for the opportunity. Speakers, great job today. Really enjoyed listening in. Male caregivers, as mentioned multiple times in these presentations, it's a tough, it's a very difficult, challenging industry. And I can't think of a better place for our male caregivers to serve than our military. We have servicemen all over the world who have multiple benefits. And that's why I'm here today, is to share how you can access these resources to help the person that you're, the individual, the veteran that you're taking care of, family, friends. We can all say, I think we can all agree that the VA is at times thought of in a way as very challenging, very difficult, frustrating. But the reality is, I'm here to tell you that it's actually quite the opposite. My experience with the VA from a business perspective is that if you understand that you fit in a box for any particular benefit at the VA, that in reality, it's a very simplistic process to procure those benefits. And so today we've listened a lot about mental health, the actual challenges of taking care of an individual at home. My goal here today is to give you some resources that you can utilize, not only to help get you as a caregiver paid, but more importantly, to help the veteran that you're going to be servicing and potentially even the spouses of veterans that have access to multiple benefits. So let's just dive in first off to the first benefit that I started a company called Veteran Caregivers in 2015. Purple Heart's Home Health, which Christina mentioned. We do service skilled, that's physical therapy and also in-home care through that organization. But Veteran Caregivers we are contracted with 3,000 providers throughout the United States, all the name brands that you know, Visiting Angels, Home Instead, Right at Home, etc. And we service these companies through a program called Aid and Attendance. Aid and Attendance is a benefit to wartime veterans. If you serve just one day during a wartime period and you served at least 90 days as a veteran, you become what is officially to the VA a veteran at that time. So if that's true and you're a wartime veteran, then you potentially qualify for this benefit. And that's not only the veteran, but in fact, the spouse of the veteran too, whether living or the spouse has passed. So that's kind of a unique thing that most people don't realize. There are just hundreds of thousands so just to give you the number perspective on this, right now the VA is communicating roughly almost 10 million veterans right now, of which are 65 and older, who are in our communities and throughout the world that could potentially benefit from this product. So again, you have to be a wartime veteran. You have to have the need for care, clearly. But what does this product present for you? What does it do for a veteran? So has two aspects to it, which is really nice. First off, it increases their income, and then it also provides a medical reimbursement aspect, which is where the caregiver where the family can actually pay for the caregiver. So the VA will directly deposit these funds when approved to the veteran's bank account, and then they can access those funds clearly to pay you guys to provide the care. So our company provides. So there's a unique challenge to the aid and attendance pension. So we'll talk about the simple part of the benefit, and then we're going to talk about a little bit of the challenge part of the benefit. First off, if you're, again, wartime veteran in the need of care, and you apply with the VA for this product, they're going to ask you a couple of questions. First off there's an income requirement. In other words, there's a limit on income. And then there's also an asset limit. Now, the asset limit's around $160,000. So it's pretty high, and most people qualify from that perspective. But on the income side, that's where it can be somewhat of a challenge. And it's meant mostly for people who have lower income. So let's just take one simple example, a single veteran. A single veteran today in 2025 is eligible up to $2,358 from the VA. And so what does that mean? They're eligible for that. So if a veteran had zero income whatsoever, then that veteran would receive $2,358 in additional income from that zero total all the way up to $2,358. So quite a nice little product there for somebody who is making zero income. Of course, that's very rare. Most people have Social Security, right, as their check. So let's give you an example of somebody at $1,500 of income each month, and that's their only source of income is Social Security, let's say, then the VA is going to increase their income from $1,500 to $2,358. So $800 plus additional income a month is granted to that veteran out of the gate. So that's the very simplistic part of the benefit, and that's where most VA representatives, you have advocates, VSO officers, VA agents, and legal attorneys elder law attorneys who are procuring that benefit on a daily basis in the tens of thousands for these veterans throughout the United States and all over the world. So that's a nice feature. But from a caregiving perspective, not most people who do increase their income, if they're really in bad need, they're going to use that additional income to pay for care. But here's where our company comes in and really changes the ballgame. So that guy, the same example of a guy that has $1,500 worth of income, he's only getting the increase of income to that maximum pension. What about the $1,500 that's still left on the table that can be utilized for medical reimbursement? Okay, this is where the challenge starts to begin. If you are a veteran with $1,500 of income, you clearly need that money for, your bills, your rent, your groceries, and everything else. It's not realistic for somebody with that low of an income to pay for in-home care. It's very rare and extreme that they do. So how do we get the medical reimbursement started if I can't pay a monthly fee of $1,500 for care because I need to use my money for other things? That's where veteran caregivers comes in. We come in and literally finance that care for them. We give them legal counsel for free, which is a requirement, by the way, at the VA. So they're offered legal counsel. They fill out all the documents for them. They procure all the documents that are needed on their behalf. There's a discharge paperwork from the VA called a DD-214. We can pull that from the National Archive at the VA. It's about a 30 to 35 page application that our legal team fills out for them. And essentially what we're doing is we're trying to make the process of procuring the information needed from the VA very simplistic, right? We want them to be able to if you're hurting, if you're in a situation where you need this level of care, it's very difficult for someone to fill out that level of information. So what we're trying to accomplish here across the board is to make the program very simplistic. So there should never be, if you will, a fear from the veteran or the family that they have to fight and go through all this process with the VA, because that's why we provide legal counsel for these guys. So essentially what I'm trying to refer to is we can get the establishment of a medical reimbursement. What we're going to do is we're going to pay the first month's invoice off on behalf of the veteran with a loan that is zero interest, zero risk. And so how in the world do we have a loan that is zero interest, zero risk? Well, our company partnered with multiple finance companies throughout the United States that are veteran owned, who recognize and understand the challenges of our veterans and what they're going through. So they have all essentially donated the resources we need. It's in the millions and millions of dollars to provide zero interest loans, which benefit these financial companies because they can go out and tell their partners in industry that they help and serve veterans. So that sacrifice of those profits to them is beneficial in the PR and marketing and advertising that they gain by saying they help service veterans. So by procuring all this money, we're able to literally offer a veteran zero interest, zero risk. And what does the zero risk mean? So the VA takes up to 6 months to approve this pension. And what we're doing during that 6 months is we're supplying every single month a paid off invoice to the VA that says, look, this veteran is establishing a reoccurring monthly expense that is being paid, and thus the $1,500 of income that he has is now being utilized to pay for care. Now, what that does is it establishes a medical reimbursement, which means the VA is seeing a paid off invoice, right? Then they are receiving that tells the VA that the veteran is now needing a reimbursement each month in that amount. So what this does essentially, guys, is it gives a veteran, he keeps his Social Security check for $1,500. He uses that for rent, bills, and whatever else. Our company is paying each month for this care while the pension is being approved. And at the very final moment, let's say 6 months goes by, we've invested $2,000 a month or $1,500 a month for this particular example for 6 months. So we're at roughly $9,000 of investment in this veteran, and the VA has reviewed 6 months of paid off invoices. What the VA does at that point is they approve the pension, which, by the way, we've never, ever had a pension denied, ever. We do all of our due diligence ahead of time to make sure all the paperwork's done perfectly, that we're communicating with the VA every single thing they need to know to get this approved. The only reason for a 6-month delay is the VA's own massive amount of applications that come to them, and it just takes time for them to process through all those applications. My point is this: 6 months later, it comes by, the VA approves that application, and they write a check to the veteran for 6 months of care that we put $1,500 in there every single month, and they're going to get a check for that amount to pay back that loan. So the question poses, all family members always ask us this question: what happens if you go 4 months and my dad passes away and the pension is not approved? This is where our partnerships are extremely valuable. Veteran caregivers with the financial institutions have negotiated for that loan to be wiped out for every veteran that does not receive a pension for any reason. Fortunately, we've never ever had a pension denied, but if for any reason we made a mistake, it would be wiped out for them. If they pass away before they actually get approved the pension, it is wiped out for them, because we literally have thousands of these veterans on this pension. And for the sheer volume of those folks, we can encompass that debt and wipe it out for the family. So here's what I want for all you male caregivers who are out there. This is just one product that I'm talking about. There's several others at the VA. Granted, Aid in Attendance is a fabulous product to help your veteran increase their income and to get that medical reimbursement started to pay for your services. But it also pays for other things like dental care. It could be anything that they have to pay for that's related to a medical expense. So what an incredible resource that's available to them. And unfortunately, most people don't know about it. It's been around since 1956. It's allocated roughly $7.5 billion from Congress a year for veterans to access this product. And it's very unfortunate that most people don't even know about it. So that's why this was why I wanted to share the number one product, in my opinion, that is most underutilized, least communicated to veterans, and it's available to them, and they can procure this product not only through our company, and you can find us at veterancaregiversofamerica.com, but you can go down to your local veteran service officer who's in every county of every state of the United States of America. Okay, so it's very easy to access the information. You can go online and type in Aid in Attendance, and you're going to find information you need. So that is one product that I'd like to, obviously communicate and make sure you guys understand. Secondly, there is Homemaker Home Health Aid, which, Christina, you mentioned Purple Heart's Home Health, which is, yes, another company that I own in Texas. It services only Texas because of regional boundaries for state law. We simply do not at this time own other agencies in other states. And so we are a Tri-West certified entity there. And there's a program at the VA called Homemaker Home Health Aid. This program is very unique. Unlike Aid in Attendance, the VA doesn't pay the veteran directly in this program. The VA pays companies like mine, Purple Heart's Home Health, who are licensed provider assistance services companies. This would be companies like Visiting Angels, Right at Home, Home Instead. If you recognize those brands in the industry, all of those companies who are contracted, like our company, Purple Hearts, with TriWest in the west, and it is Optum in the east. The dividing line is Texas all the way up north to Canada. Anybody who's on the east side of the country is an Optum contracted provider, and the companies that, like myself in Texas and West, are all contracted with TriWest. And what that does is it puts us under a regulation with the VA to provide care to these veterans that are authorized. Essentially, it's a very simplistic product to get. If you are in need of any type of care, so if you need 2 or more ADLs, and if you guys who aren't familiar what ADLs are, that's activities of daily living, bathing, dressing, ambulation, transferring, eating, all of those things that maybe it's very difficult for a veteran to perform. All they have to do is go to the VA and inform their doctor. Now, obviously, they have to be enrolled at the VA, which is very simplistic to do, by the way. You can make one phone call at the VA. I'm sorry, I don't have the number with me at the moment, but you can make a phone call and get access to your eligibility for medical at the VA. Once you're in the VA and you're receiving medical benefits, all you have to do is go to your doctor and simply say, I think I need help with my ADLs. And they will initiate a consult with a social worker who will contact you on the phone, and they will run through a series of questions with you. And as long as you fit the box, which is a very simplistic box, by the way, you just simply have to have need for 2 or more ADLs, and you are qualified for this program. There was a new law passed in January. It's called the Elizabeth Dole Act. And if you can look that up online, you'll find that has expanded services for this program throughout every single county in every state of the United States. The VA is now required by law to help every single veteran who is in need of care. So this program is going to pay the visiting angels, the Right at Homes of the world, the contracted companies like Purple Hearts, pay them directly for that care. And so that's a second product that is fantastic. You got your aid and attendance product, which pays the veteran directly, income increases, medical reimbursement. Then you have the Homemaker Home Health Aid Program, which is just free to every veteran who is eligible at the VA for the medical services. And of course, their requirement is 2 ADLs or more. Then there's a third product, which is called Veteran Direct Care. It's a fairly new product at the VA. And what that product is ultimately really designed to do is to have someone in the family, instead of an outsider who's coming into the home. This one is for all you male caregivers who have moms and dads who need help. Here's your chance, because the Veteran Direct Care program pays the veteran directly to pay a family member to provide the care. Fairly new. It's mostly utilized in very difficult to service situations. The VA clearly prefers to have an outside company do the work because they are regulated. There's APS issues that they have to deal with. It's mostly that they're licensed and regulated by their own states and federal law, and those companies need to provide that care. In this case, there is no oversight from the VA. What they do is they provide X amount of dollars. They negotiate with the veteran through that process, and they give them so many dollars to help a family member provide the care. Now, in one thing I forgot to say also on the Homemaker Home Health Program, there is a respite aspect to that product as well. And this, as we all know, even when families have companies and other people coming in to help them, there's still need that you can't. Typically, there's no 24/7 care option, at least not with the VA. So that means that a lot of times family have to make up the difference of time. Well, there's a respite option there too, which I always want to mention, because I know all you guys that are, trying to service family, the respite option will give your family a break, give them a chance to go for a weekend, get out of the house. As we all know, and we've heard this over and over again with all the presenters today, the challenge mentally, physically, it's a wonderful, amazing program to do that, right? And so you need a break every once in a while, and that the VA does provide that. So I'm going to say we have 3 programs that I'm mentioning today: aid and attendance, homemaker, home health aid, and then of course we have the veteran direct care. And I know Cheryl, there's a lot of questions coming through here. I thought maybe we might try to address a couple of these questions if you don't mind. But other than that, I think I've reached probably my limit here for you guys. But I want to make sure I answer all these questions. So we have one coming in Singapore. Having 2 or more activities of daily living is key threshold used to determine eligibility for several states' subsidies and payouts. So yeah, that's just a great comment there, 100%. And then we've got an elder fund, which is, looks like they have some. So there's different comments in here I just wanted to look at. I don't think there's any particular questions. It looks like it's just individual comments. So Cheryl, Christina, I hope that I gave at least some of our male caregivers some options, that they understand the simplicity. I'd like to end it with this. It's highly recommended that you always reference an advocate. There's 3 types of services from the VA that are free of charge to you. You have an advocate at every single medical facility at the VA, 100% free for you to access and help the veteran through any paperwork and process. They're a legal person for you. There are VA accredited agents, which that's who we utilize. We pay these folks to provide a legal assistance in filling out the paperwork and answer all these questions that we're talking about. There's a lot that goes on with it, right? But they walk you through it, ABC 1, 2, 3. Okay. And then lastly, you have attorneys, elder law attorneys who are obviously well educated and understand the same thing. All of these people are trained by the VA to provide you the care that you need. And always know this, except for attorneys, elder law attorneys, every time you reach out to one of these advocates or VA accredited agents, it is by law that they cannot charge you. You need to know that. Make sure you do not fall for those companies out there that are trying to just make money off of you. It is free to you and is required by law and rules and regulations at the VA that you get those services for free.
Thank you so much, Scott. We are so grateful for you.
100%. I hope it helps somebody and a veteran out there that needs help, and certainly your male caregivers to empower themselves to help those who are in need and help our veterans throughout the world.
I need to tell you, I'm so grateful for what you do because, it was back in 2017. I was doing some local classes and things here, and I would invite people in. And one of the people that I would invite is somebody who did aid and attendance, right, here in Vancouver, Washington. And it was amazing how many veterans and their spouses did not know that they qualified for that. And it's a lot easier to go through somebody like you sometimes than it is to go down to the VA and things like that. So just so grateful because these people served our country and we need to take care of them once they're back home and their families. So
I want to be clear, Christina, I'm not here 100% not here to promote our company. My main mission here is to make sure that everybody has understanding that this is available to you. You have resources in your backyard to help you through that process. The only thing that makes us different is we provide that financial part. Mm-hmm. That's a nice thing to access if you want to go down that route, but you can still get the income increase very simplistically with a VSO officer or advocate and of course any type of attorney, whatnot. So.
And thanks for all the resources you mentioned too. As you were saying them, I was dropping them in the chat too. So like the Elizabeth Dole Act and things like that, and the Veterans Caregivers of America, I put that in there as well. So thank you.
You're welcome. Really appreciate the time to share that message.
Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Listen, our time is about to run out. We have to definitely be mindful of the time, but I don't know if they're going to kick us out in 4 hours or what. However, we really have to be mindful of the time. Okay, so Scott, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your veteran information. Everything is in the chat. All of the information that the people need is in the chat. You can connect with each other that way. A lot of the people are on LinkedIn, they on Facebook, they on YouTube. Connect with them after this is over. All right. So last but not least, Scott, thank you so much for coming on. All right, thank you. And Christina, thank you so much for that introduction of Scott. I have to bring on our wonderful last caregiver, male caregiver, Mark Barkeza. Mark is a distinguished advocate for men's mental health and a dedicated family caregiver based in Seattle, Washington. He serves as Vice President of Development at Vibration Robotics, leading groundbreaking initiatives in A1 and quantum technology innovation. Beyond his expertise in technology, he is deeply committed to addressing critical issues affecting men's well-being. We've been talking about that, the mental health, the men. Let's talk about it. Through his insight articles, he explores topics such as the hidden cost of hyperproductivity, the importance of mentorship, and strategies for dismantling toxic masculinity. His work provides a fresh perspective on resilience, mental health, and personal growth. Please join us in welcoming Mark Varkezer to the stage, and he's going to share with us the heart that never quits. Mark, you have the stage.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me. Let me grab the torch that Scott is just passing by real quick here. All right, first off, let me say this. It is an honor to be with you here today, speaking to the very people who keep the world together, even when their own world is falling apart. It's caregivers. The ones who don't get medals. We don't even get headlines. And sometimes we don't even get a simple thank you. But we do it anyway. Because caregiving isn't just a job. It isn't even just a responsibility. It's really a calling. And for me, that calling came when I least expected it. Because I never thought I'd be a caregiver. I never thought I had it in me. But one day life whispered in my ear and said, "You're up." I still remember that moment I made that promise. The one that would change everything. I'll be there. At the time, I had no idea what I was really signing up for. I didn't know that being there would mean sleepless nights or exhaustion would make my hands shake. I didn't know that being there would mean learning the difference between silence and suffering, between a forced smile and real comfort. I didn't know that being there would really mean holding on to someone's hand, not just to steady them, but to let them know they weren't alone. But I learned. Oh, I learned. The first time I had to carry someone who used to carry me, I felt something in me break. The first time I had to speak the words of comfort, I wasn't even sure I even believed it. I felt my own doubts creeping in. And the first time I had to let go, the hardest part of all, I learned that caregiving isn't just about saving lives. It's about making the time they have worth something. That's when I understood that being a caregiver isn't just about showing up. It's about who you become in the process. I'm going to share you 3 lessons that changed my life. Love is louder than words. There were days I sat next to someone who couldn't speak anymore. Days where words felt useless. But I realized love isn't always something you say. It's something you show. It's in the soft touch on a shaking hand. It's in the way you adjust the pillow, not just because they asked, but because you noticed. It's in the way you sit in silence, just so they don't feel alone. Sometimes love is just being there. Second one I want to share with you is strength isn't about lifting. It's about holding on. holding on through the sleepless nights, holding on through the heartbreak, holding on through the exhaustion, the frustration, the self-doubt. I remember one night I was exhausted beyond belief, running on fumes. I wanted to give up. Then I looked down at the person I was caring for. And I saw something in their eyes. Trust. They trusted me to keep going, even when they couldn't. That's when I realized strength isn't in the muscles. It's in the moments. The moments you keep going. Not because you have to, but because someone else needs you to. And the third lesson that I learned is even heroes need care too. And this one took me the longest to learn, because as caregivers, we're wired to put everyone else first. We'll run ourselves into the ground before we admit we're struggling. But let me tell you something. The strongest caregivers are the ones who know when to rest. The ones who let themselves cry when they need to. The ones who remember that you can't pour from an empty cup. I had to learn this the hard way. One day after running myself ragged, I caught a glimpse of myself in my mirror. What did I see? I didn't even recognize that person anymore. The exhaustion, the stress, the neglect. I had to become a ghost myself, and I realized if I wanted to keep showing up for others, I had to start showing up for myself too. Because the truth is that caregivers are the heartbeat of the world. But even a heartbeat needs a rhythm. It needs rest. So today, I stand here, not just as someone who has been in the trenches of caregiving, but as someone who sees you. I see the warriors. I see the healers. I see the people who give and give and give, even when there's nothing left to give. You are enough. You are seen. You are loved. And what do? It matters. So if no one else says it, let me be the first to tell you. Thank you. Thank you for every late night, every early morning, every moment of patience, every sacrifice, and every act of love. Because the world may not always see us, but we see each other. And that what makes all the difference. So keep showing up. Keep leading with love. Keep being that heartbeat of the world. Because the heart never quits. That's who we are. Thank you.
That was awesome. That was awesome, Mark. Oh, you're muted, Miss Sherelle.
I am telling you, oh my goodness, Mark. Thank you. Thank you for keeping it just simple and to the point and letting everybody know, listen, you are enough.
Mm-hmm.
You are enough as a caregiver. Don't overdo it. A lot of times, I'm just going to put this plug here. I'm going to bring everybody up on the stage after Christina say what she has to say. Listen, you are enough. Remember that. Number one, you are enough. Number two, the power of your mind. And number three, this should really be number one. Prioritize you as number one. I don't care what's going on. You got to put you first, and then you can take care of everyone else. That's the common thread with every caregiver. Prioritize you. Make you the number one priority. And with that being said, I'm gonna let Christina finish with her point, and we're gonna bring everybody that's left onto the stage, and we're gonna do our grand finale. Okay, for you of those in the audience, continue to put your comments in. Those of you in the studio, please put your comments in the chat. Y'all know, I don't know if y'all said it at the beginning, that you can put your comments in the chat as they are speaking. right? Because you can watch on the YouTube, the all the other social medias that we have right there: YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and StreamYard. So you had 4 avenues that you can connect with the speakers. Everyone, all of my speakers, we love you. Put your information in the chat in case someone was not able to see you at this particular time, so they can connect with you. They're going to connect with you. Someone may want to connect to you through me, and I will give them your information. And guess what I'm going to do for all of you guys? You all going to receive each other email. Okay, so we'll get a list out to you, but put your email in the chat for those to come back and watch it later, and for those that's on here now. We're going to be out of here at 1 o'clock. That is our designated time. We want to do things in.
All right. Mark, there were a few things that came up here when you were talking, and a few of the things were it's about who you become in the process. I love that. It's not about, the character, it's about who you become in the process. And love isn't always just in the words you say, but it's in the ways you show up. I loved that. And strength isn't in the muscles, it's in the moments. That was the one that really got me. So thank you so much for what you shared today. Very grateful. And very grateful for everybody who shared today, all the amazing speakers. I learned so much from so many. So thank you all for all your wisdom. Oh, you're muted, Miss Sherelle.
Yeah, I go mute just in case something is happening in the background. But thank everyone. Listen, my team, please bring up everyone to the stage. We're gonna do our grand finale so everyone can go out and enjoy the rest of this Saturday. Okay, we start early, we ended early, we ended on time, close to the time. For those that were not able to make it, they sent in that they were sorry they could not make it. However, all of you guys showed up. That's what's important. So now for the grand finale. Drum roll, please. Can I get a drum roll in there? Anybody know how to play the drums? Okay, so for the grand finale, I'm going to let my team spotlight each one of you. Listen, be aware of the time. I'm giving you 1 minute to give a wisdom key to the audience. 1 minute. Let's go. Go ahead, team. Pull up whoever. Put everybody else down and bring them up one at a time. Highlight them one at a time. 1 minute to say your wisdom keys to the audience. Take off everyone from the stage. Start with Dr. Wayne.
Dr. Ackerman.
Okay, George. Go ahead, George. Whoever's up there, go for it.
No problem. Cherish every moment with your loved one, and also keep learning, because every day I still have a lot to learn, and that's really the main key. And also, I love everyone out there, and thanks for the opportunity. But this is to be continued. We have to keep the discussion going until there's a cure for all these diseases. But again, I send my love. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. George. Bring up whoever next. There you go, Lance.
For sharing your time and wisdom with everyone. We're going to continue raising the awareness and supporting caregivers everywhere. A passage just to keep with kind of Kevin's theme a little bit is, or is it Keith? Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. You might have troubles and difficulties today, caring for a loved one or even your own self-care, but tomorrow's a new day. Just keep taking care of yourself, asking for help and accepting help. And it was a pleasure to be here today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
I just want to let you know that your strength isn't just in your shoulders, it's in your spirit. It's in the way you show up, even when no one notices. It's in the way you keep going when no one asks you how you're doing. Society may not always talk about male tenderness, but let me be clear. There is no weakness in your gentleness. There is no shame in your tears. You are not less of a man for caregiving. You are more of one. It takes a special kind of strength to carry another person's world on your back while pretending you're not carrying your own. You may have learned to bottle up emotions, fix problems, stay stoic, but caregiving will crack that shell, and that's okay. Don't let silence be your prison. Talk, cry, ask for help. So you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be present. Thank you.
I just
Wonderful.
want to,
Thank you, Mark.
my main comments is just a lot of veterans are not aware of a lot of the benefits that are available. Congress built the VA for you. It's a great resource for you. And there are many, many resources in your backyard that you can access to make it easy on you. Don't dislike the VA. Love the VA. They're here to help you.
Amen. Beautiful.
Great,
Vassaliso.
great job to all the presenters today. I definitely learned a lot. Definitely, it's okay not to be okay, but definitely get the help that you need, whatever that looks like for you, and definitely practice self care. Uh, yeah, go seek the help that you need.
Yes, just want to say great work today. It's great
Beautiful.
to hear it's great
Thank
to
you,
hear all the men
Vassaliso.
talking.
Trevor.
Yeah. So I want to say thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you to all the men talking. I learned a lot from every one of you. It's good to see that we can come out of the woodworm and we can actually share how we feel. And I have an old saying, if you don't deal with the problems will deal with you. So we've got to take matters into our hand and make it work and make a difference. So well done to everyone. Round of applause.
Yes. Beautiful.
Know that the Lord our God loves you, and I do too. And remember us as men, as well as ladies, and everyone as caregivers. Iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Wonderful.
45% of the
Iron
risk factors for
sharpens.
dementia is preventable by ourselves. That is by you. If we train our brain, that is, learn new things, play games, vitalize our veins, engage in healthy lifestyle activities like eating right, exercising, sleeping well, and share our stories. If we just do these three things, train our brain, vitalize our veins, share our stories, we potentially could even reverse early cognitive decline. With that, dementia does not have to be our destiny because we defy dementia and we define our own destiny.
Yes, 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 yes. Everybody open up your mic. Give yourselves a round of applause. This has been a wonderful event. It was well worth the 4 hours. Okay. I need you guys to put something in the chat, a comment, how you like it, how you didn't like it, how do the people get in contact with you. And I just want to say this for all of those that's out there. As caregiver, you know, Rosalind Carter said it best. She said there's only 4 kind of people in this world. We all know the quote. If you don't, you need to look it up because Rosalind Carter has been saying this for over 40, 50 years. She represented mental health, mental wellness, if you will. Unfortunately, her and her husband passed away, I believe, about a year apart just recently. Okay, so but this is her legacy. This still lives on. Her quote still lives on. And she quote, I will quote, Rosalind Carter said it best. She said there are only 4 kinds of people in the world, or 4 kind of caregivers in this world. There are those who are caregivers, those who will be caregivers, those who will need a caregiver, and those who will be a caregiver. The 4 kind of people in this world. You agree or disagree? Put it in the comments. Let's talk about it. All right. That's our story for today. Anything else anyone else wants to say? We're going to close this out. This has been a wonderful event. And I really appreciate you all showing up and coming in with excellence, coming in with boldness, coming in with your uniqueness of sharing your story your way. Continue to do wonderful things in your community. Listen, in the audience, reach out to these wonderful male caregivers. And guess what? I already have 5 guys lined up for next year. If you know someone, everyone on this stage, I want you to tag someone for next year and have them get in contact with me ASAP. It's already filling up. I'm only taking maybe 20 guys to go forth live next year. We're planning it out now for next year. So, you know someone, I know all of you know someone that you can piggyback to come in for next year. And we always welcome the ones that already came in. All of you are welcome to come back next year. We can talk about it next year. Like I say, we're going live. We're going to do hybrid, where they can watch you live streaming on the virtual and live in person. Let's do it. Let's go for it. Let's keep this momentum going. We love our male caregivers. Unmute the mic and speak up. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. God bless you all. Have a wonderful weekend. Any comments? Listen, put it in the chat and get in contact with me. I want all of you to reach out to me via email. I have something for you to fill out. I want you to do a feedback. It's a jot form you're going to receive to do a feedback on how this was. Because we always want to what? Improve, and always want to be do things in excellence. Okay? Anything else, Christina?
Well, I just want to say, if you missed any of these incredible speakers, where can they find them? Again, they can find them on your page, on YouTube. Where can they find? Because listen,
they are on.
I've seen these gentlemen, some of them before, some of them are new, and even the ones I've seen before, I learned something new today. So you want to check out each and every one of them. So if you missed any part of today's summit, you want to check out the replay.
Absolutely. The replay is where it's at, because a lot of people, they wanted to be here, but they couldn't. However, what happens? The show must go on. I am so glad the replays are there, because they can go watch at their leisure. We got all the social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and StreamYard. So check us out. Connect with the wonderful, powerful men on this platform. They have something for you. Anything else? If not, going once, going twice, going 3 times, we're out of here. Have a great one. Say goodbye. See you guys later. Okay, where my people at? Commercial. Let's do it. Everyone stay for 1 minute. Stay afterwards. Okay. Thank you guys so much for coming in.
The Global Caregivers Network proudly presents the 2nd Annual Global Male Caregivers Summit, happening April 12th, 2025, from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us as we welcome 10 extraordinary male caregivers from around the world, sharing their powerful journeys, insights, and experiences. This is more than an event, it's a movement. Caregiving from the male perspective, unfiltered and inspiring. Register now on Eventbrite. Secure your free ticket today. We'll see you there.